Hey everyone, welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. I'm your host, Russ. You can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ, but more importantly than that, you can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. And even more importantly than that, and you're probably thinking, but how could there possibly be something more important than the MLS Now podcast? And, it's hard to believe. It is hard to believe, and I understand your skepticism, but I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is that you can find this more important person on social media, on Blue Sky at MLS Gamut. That's right. Beau is back on the podcast. We missed him earlier this week, and thankfully, we read everyone's minds. We knew you wanted to hear from him. We found a day. We said, Beau, click this link. Don't question it. Please input the last four of your social security number, your mother's maiden name, street you grew up on, all that, and then join the podcast. And he did all of that. And here he is, Beau. Thank you very much for joining. But more importantly, please do not flag any of the following transactions as fraud throughout the rest of the night that I'm sure you're going to see coming through soon.
Okay, that is thank you for the heads up. I will ignore the text messages from my bank asking if the yacht ordered from Barbados was legitimate transaction.
A legitimate transaction. You can expect to see that in the next 2 to 3 months.
Beautiful, beautiful. Very happy to be back. Sorry I've been gone the last 2 weeks, life and that kind of stuff. But hey, happy to be back and happy to be able to talk MLS, baby.
Yeah, well, and we're not just talking any old regular MLS, but we're this may come as a shock. Honestly, it comes as a shock even as I'm saying it, right? We are almost a third of the way through the season, which feels like the season just kicked off, a hot second ago.
Hey,
right?
time flies when you're having fun, man.
Time flies when you're having fun. It also flies when I assume, like fans of, say, Montreal or Sporting Kansas City are, imbibing in copious amounts of alcohol, and I'm sure time flies for them as well. So, here we are. We're a third of the way through the season, and Beau, you had a great idea. You sent it to the group chat, and you're like, we should talk about MLS. And I'm like, yes, we should. And not only should we talk about MLS, we should talk about which teams are underperforming, which teams are overperforming. Basically, we should figure out who are frauds, put them on blast, and then find out who are secretly impressive and call that out. Although I'm curious if any of the teams that look impressive are, maybe I don't like. If they're sitting at the top of the table, they're not secretly impressive, right? Like there's no team that's like in 10th or 11th that you're like, oh, secretly they're actually a great team. They're just unlucky. But that's why we're here to have this discussion. So we're going to find out.
I actually have a couple of those teams.
Well,
so stay tuned, listener.
Stay tuned indeed.
Stay tuned indeed.
Beau, since you are the guest here, I feel that it is only fair that we begin by discussing some teams in the Western Conference.
Oh, it would be a true pleasure. Finally get rid of that East Coast bias that everyone talks about. Go to the West Coast. That's David, right. I'm finally glad. Russell, I don't know why I said David. We were just talking about David.
We were talking about David. He's not here.
David, all good things. All good things.
Mostly bad things. Don't listen to Beau.
Yeah, well. Should we start at the top? Should we go top down or should we go bottom up?
I feel like when
listeners write in now.
Yeah, it will wait 2 to 3 business days for responses.
Exactly.
And then we'll just, redo the podcast from the rest of it. You're going to listen and be like, what do you mean the podcast is over? Well, it's already over. So we're going to roll the outro right here and then we'll just make a new podcast. Anyways, I think, we got to start from the very bottom, right? Because we've talked about Vancouver tons on basically every single other episode. I feel like we got to give some love to LA Galaxy.
Bottoms up.
There's not much to love about LA Galaxy right now if you're a Galaxy fan.
That is very, very, very true. It's bad.
It is bad. For the record, Beau, here's a fun stat. The gap between LA Galaxy in 15th and Houston in 14th is the same gap as Vancouver in 1st and Minnesota in 2nd, which is 7 points.
That is, man, Vancouver's good. That's one of the things we're going to get to. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
But we're not on Vancouver. We're talking about the cellar dwellers, LA Galaxy. So, one of the things I'm going to be referencing a lot this podcast is American Soccer Analysis released a thing called Where Goals Come From. And it's looking at literally how teams are scoring their goals and how they're letting other teams score against them, right? And not only that, but chance creation. And so, do you want to hear something that the most effective way to score goals, as you would get, is progressive passes, right? Through balls, uh, gosh, trying to think here. I just immediately would blank. Let's see. You got through balls, cutbacks, crosses, long balls, and then literally just a nice progressive pass, right? Like your typical stuff. You have basic passes, set piece passes, individual play, and then set pieces, right? Those are your 5 main categories for scoring goals. So the most effective way, obviously, is progressive passes.
Makes sense. LA Galaxy has an amazing player who does that. The problem is they're injured.
Do you want to know what's really sad, though, is that LA Galaxy have overperformed their expected goals on progressive passes by 2 goals. So they are overperforming. It should be worse than what it is. It should be worse. And honestly, it all is in the defense, man. They are giving up. If you look at, like, again, shots. There's just 4 categories of shots. You have great shots, which score 50% of the time. Then you have good shots, average shots, poor shots. They are letting up an insane amount of great shots. An insane amount. Like 8 to 9 a game. And those are 50% scoring opportunity. Like, they're doing, and again, the thing is, you said it yourself. They're missing this amazing player named Ricky Pooch. You know why the Galaxy were so good defensively last year? Even though it's mostly the same core, they hung on to the ball and the other team didn't have the ball. I mean, think about it, right? If the other team doesn't have the ball and can't maintain possession, you can't score. And they've got a guy who was maybe the best at it. And I mean, right now they're on track. As of last week, they're on track to give up 68 goals this season. That's a lot of goals.
I need to fact check us, but that might be the most goals given up in a season.
It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And so, honestly, until I don't know, given the personnel that they have, I can't see it shifting. It literally is just, and look, this isn't a total shock, right? I say it all the time, MLS is a DP-driven league, right? If you don't have your DPs, you're not great. Well, they're missing the guy who is probably, arguably, maybe him and Messi were the 2 best players within the last year. And think about it, like, would it be a shock to see Miami go from first to way, way, way down, if they lost Messi for the year? No, you wouldn't be shocked, right? Now, they're benefited in the fact that they also have Busquets, Alba, and all these guys that want to come play for really, really cheap, right? Galaxy doesn't have that, right? People aren't lining up from across the world and taking a pay cut to play with Ricky Pooch. But that being said, it shouldn't be a shock. And again, here's what matters. Last year, they hung the banner. No one else did. So if you're a Galaxy fan, it sucks. It really does. But guess what? Look down to your left and look at the star on your chest. You've got one and no one else does. So let that be a little bit of solace. To me, the only thing is, how much longer of a leash does Greg Vanney get before?
An infinite leash this season, because he literally won MLS Cup and your star player Ricky Pooch is out. I did fact check us. You said they're on pace to give up 68 goals this season?
Correct.
That would not even put them in the top 10 for most goals given up in a season.
Okay. Well, there you go. But see, again, so it's not that it's bad, it's just that they also can't score. They're just not.
What are they on pace for to score?
I did not look at that.
It can't be as bad as FC Cincinnati in 2020.
I mean, okay. Let's put it like this. Right now, so in their 5 categories, their expected goals in the first 10 games of the year was 10.37. So they should have averaged a goal a game. Their opponents is 19.09. So they're giving up. So basically, for the year, they've been giving up on average per game or at least in chances it should be if the numbers played out right every time. It should every game should end 2-1, Galaxy losing every game. So, and it's just how the cookies crumble in this year. But I mean, you look at it, Peck has not been as good as he was last year. You're seeing flashes and this and that. Now, is that coming down to Pooj and his service? I don't know. Honestly, the games are so awful to watch that I get to watch. I watch little bits of it, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not getting paid to watch this game. This is awful. And so I just, as much as I love Joseph Paintsil, I'm a Joseph Paintsil homer. And the team has improved when he came back because they finally had the vertical threat running in behind. But again, I don't know. I think it's a multifaceted thing. They lost Pooj. They also lost Marky Delgado, who was really, really good. Like, there's a reason LAFC gave up a lot to get him. So yeah,
I feel like we're listing these names and it's further cements that MLS teams live and die based on your midfield.
It does, yes, it really does seem like that. Like I'm very excited when Pooj comes back, not just because of I want to see how it goes. I really want to know how much of that success was Marky Delgado. I really want to know. I think there's a really good chance, I've thought it for a while, that he's one of the more underrated players in the league. And if they come back and they get better, but not near close to what they were, that could be a real feather in the cap of how important Marky Delgado is. Which we'll talk about the team he went to here in a little bit, because his team's not doing super great either.
No, I just wanted to, let me just confirm something real quick. Yes, the LA Galaxy on tiebreakers do sit below Montreal. So as I move us to the next team in the West, would you say it is safe to say that by the numbers and by the eye test, LA Galaxy is in fact the worst team in the league?
Okay. Man, this is really tough. This is maybe one of the toughest questions I've ever been asked. No, Montreal's worse.
All right.
I think that,
and we will cover that in the second half of the episode.
Yes. I think Montreal just they we will get there, but no, I absolutely don't think there's. Yeah, I will go Montreal with the first round pick in the 2025 or 2026 MLS draft.
Right. And even that won't save. They're going to somehow trade away that pick too, is the incredible part of it. Or I would be surprised.
$50,000 in GAM.
Could you imagine if someone went out and did some research and it's like, oh, hey, did you know in 2022, as part of this one random trade, that Montreal actually traded their 2026 super draft pick, their natural first round selection pick, thinking that, they would never need to use it. And then it's like someone somewhere is 4 years later, oh my gosh, we got the first round pick.
Yep. Unfortunately, I would say unfortunately, I don't think it matters anymore, but that's just straight up a total lie, man. I mean, Moise Bombito came out of the draft. I mean, there's some good Logan Farrington. There are good players coming out of the draft still, if you know what you're doing.
Right. Now, I would say it's very different from the NFL, where it certainly isn't it's not
how you're building your team.
Yeah, but if you can find the hidden gems and you can strike gold in one or two guys, you can really build some incredible depth for your team.
No, you really can. Players develop at different rates, and I think that's one of the things Philadelphia Union have been guilty of for a really long time, is not using the draft. They famously would trade away their picks or just pass. Good teams like the Colorado Rapids it's kind of like a Moneyball thing. Last couple of years they traded for a bunch of draft picks, and they've got a ton of good guys coming in. Kamari Stewart Baines. They got Moise Bombito. There's some teams that value the draft and see value there for sure.
Well, LA Galaxy will be enjoying their draft pick next year, and so will Montreal.
Speaking of teams that valued the draft, or did in the past they did. Yeah,
previously valued the draft. Are you about to say Houston Dynamo? Because that's where we're going next.
No, I was going Sporting KC, but it's okay.
Ooh, well, I mean, technically. So here's the fun thing, and I'll preface this question to you right now rather than later. There are 3 teams sitting on 10 points in the West. Houston Dynamo on the tiebreaker sits in 14th. St. Louis City on tiebreakers in 13th, and Sporting Kansas City on tiebreakers in 12th. Do you think, before we dive into it, do you think those teams are properly, in 12th, 13th, 14th in comparison to each other? Or do you think that, one will end up pulling ahead of the others?
I think St. Louis and Houston will rise up the table. I think Sporting KC and it'll be Galaxy, Sporting KC, and RSL probably make up the basement. And
Very
I don't
interesting.
think that, and again, I like RSL. RSL has all the pieces for a good soccer team. It's just not clicking and
But they're not a
working.
good soccer team.
It's really weird, man. They have the pieces, but it's just not working. I don't really know. But then you look at the pieces and you're like, well, they could be better at a lot of stuff. I don't know. They're really weird. But St. Louis has been unlucky. I think Houston will definitely go up the table. And a lot of the numbers show that they have been really, really unlucky this year. It shows that so if you guys don't know what post shots expected goals are, so it's that basically when someone shoots the ball, you have expected goals, right? Well, post shot expected goals, like post shot, like, okay, well, where did you kick the ball, right? Like where was it placed, this and that, and how likely would you have scored? Well, the opponents are way overperforming, so the opponents are scoring more than they should, and Houston is scoring less than they should. And again, everything always regresses to the mean, right? Like everything will eventually even out. And if those goals have gone in, then all of a sudden, let me pull up the standings here. I mean, Houston could be, if those goals have gone in, Houston could be in 10th right now. They could be just outside a playoff spot. Just or maybe even within a playoff spot if things had broken right. Just to kind of show you exactly how tight that is, where you're like, oh, 2 goals here, 2 goals there, man. That can be a 6-point difference in a season, or I mean, just where we are in the season, and that puts them in a playoff spot. So again, it's not they are not an MLS Cup contender, but they are not as bad as they should be, and a lot of the numbers show that, at least.
Yeah.
So,
They are
and
not
they're getting
winning the
healthy
wooden
people
spoon.
back. Correct. Yes. Yeah. I still don't think that the defense is as good. I think that the numbers flatter the defense a little bit. I'm not as high on their defense as the numbers show, but I don't know if they're just getting by with it or they're doing just enough, and maybe it looks shambolic and crazy, for us watching it and stuff. But it's getting the job done. At least show the numbers. But I'm a big fan of merging eyeball with stats, and so I'm not sure what to kind of do when those go against each other, because you watch them defensively and it's just like, oh, there's a boneheaded move. Oh, there's, little stuff. And I don't know. So yeah, I can definitely see Houston rising up. You got to remember too, they lost Hector Herrera and Coco Carrasquilla. They have not replaced those guys. I mean, Jack McGlynn probably one, but like they haven't replaced both of them. Although I will say this, I'm a huge Brooklyn Reigns fan. I think like Brooklyn Reigns in a few years will be a name that, like, not like Diego Luna level, but that kind of level of like verge of like national team kind of stuff. And he's finally getting his chances and starting for the Dynamo. And he's actually looked really, really good, especially considering his age, which he is. And I'm trying to figure out. I want to say he's 19, but I could be wrong. He's 20. Okay, yeah. So he's 20. So, I mean, yeah, they have a 20-year-old midfielder who's, and then they have Jack McGlynn too. I mean, the future at least looks bright in some spots for
Right.
Houston.
The present does not.
It's not as bleak as it looks. It's not as bleak as it has been, but yeah, it, baby steps.
I mean, looks kind of, they are in 14th.
That's true. That's true. But I think that 20 more games will be very different.
I think while I agree with you on the stats, I think if I do the merge eyeball test with stats, I think there is a reason they're in 14th. And I think the eyeball test tells you, yeah, okay, statistically it's going to work out, but they're underperforming for a reason. I just don't think they have it this year. There's not the guy on their team.
I wonder if man, I cannot remember the guy's name. Literally, like, it's funny. My
Jim,
friend and I,
Paul, George,
my friend and I have been talking about him lately too. The new forward that they
Ezekiel Ponce.
signed. No, it's he had the game-winning goal a few weeks ago. Linger, Andrzej Linger. They got him from SK Slavia Prague. That dude has been really good already. Like really good. Like I think he might be the guy over that. I think what's really going to hurt him is Jonathan Bond, or having Jonathan Bond in goal for a full year. You know, they put all their money on Andrew Tarbell, who looked okay. Then Jimmy Maurer went in and he got hurt, and now they're like desperate. I think that the goalkeeper could be what hurts him, because Jonathan Bond is not a good goalkeeper. But if you're like, oh yeah, but he was over in England, the dude's Welsh. He was playing at, I think it was Watford, so that's why he was there. He had a Welsh passport.
Technically, not the worst clean team in the world.
Well, I didn't say he was starting. I just said he went there.
Also fair.
Yeah.
Well, listen,
someone has to fill the water bottles.
We have seen some really bad goalkeepers in MLS, and I don't think people fully understand. Like, when you have an average goalkeeper, sometimes you're going to look at them and be like, oh, we could upgrade on this guy. When you have a bad goalkeeper, like your distribution suffers, your like shot saving suffers, your confidence in the defense, right? Your defender's ability to play, trusting that the goalkeeper is going to save even marginal shots, right? That affects their field position. It affects their decision making, their passing. It trickles, like it goes all the way, up the field in how the rest of your team plays. So when you have a goalkeeper that nobody else trusts, well, it's going to get worse for Houston.
So that's true. That's true. He did have a few really good saves last week. Was it LAF? No. Was it LAFC? It was a couple weeks ago. I can't remember, man. It's been these last few weeks have been a blur. But I mean, he's had some good saves, some shots that he shouldn't have. So we'll see. The jury's still out.
Well, the jury's not out on this. Houston, they're sitting 14th. I don't see them making the playoffs. Maybe they go up, right?
I don't either.
But
yeah,
they're not a playoff team this year. They're sitting 14th right now, probably, rightly in this like third of the table. They'll fluctuate around.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, let's move on to the second member of this illustrious 12 through 14 club, sitting right in the middle, St. Louis City SC. Okay, Beau, before you dive into the numbers, I'm gonna go back to the eyeball test, right?
Mm-hmm.
Olaf Melberg does not play an attractive style of soccer. There's no way that St. Louis's numbers can look good.
Here's what's interesting about these numbers.
If you tell me that their numbers say they're going to be good, I'm going to call you the world's biggest liar.
St. Louis, so again, great shots statistically. This is over 125,000 shot sample over the last decade plus in MLS. Great shots score about 50% of the time. Okay? They have scored on their great shots. Their current conversion rate is 17%. 17% of when it should be 50. Guys, that's insanely low. That's shockingly low. All right, and a lot of it is like Cedric Toyshirt has not come in and been amazing. He was good last year, not really seeing it. Simon Bescher has been really inconsistent. I mean, they haven't been as bad as Austin, which we'll get to them, even though they're way higher up in the table. They have a stat here that I will share that was absolutely the most mind-blowing stat during all the research I did for this. But here's what's crazy. So the first 10 games, St. Louis let in 8 goals. Do you know how many they were supposed to have given up? Expected goals. 16.
I don't know. It's 16? I was going to go the opposite direction. I was going to be like, no, 5. No.
So while they have been way underperforming in their actual offense, has just not been finishing chances, their defense has been insane. So it's really evened out in the end, really. It's kind of what you can talk about. Like, their defense has way overperformed, and they're now, granted, right, it's not against the law for teams to have great goalkeepers, and Roman Berkey's an incredible goalkeeper. But holy smokes, I don't know. This is kind of one that I'm like, the defense can't keep playing this good and the offense can't keep playing this good. Maybe this is what St. Louis is under Olaf Melberg, right? Because honestly, you're looking at it and you're like, these guys get chances, they're just not finishing them. I don't know. I really don't know. This is a bigger St. Louis is a bigger head scratch to me than like Portland and Colorado. Like some of those, like you can at least look at the numbers and go like, oh, look, like they're progressive path. No, like there's I don't know what to tell you. St. Louis is just, they may just be bad under Olaf Melberg.
Still think that Olaf Melberg does not see out this season and likely doesn't make it to summer.
I think you might be right. Because again, I don't, if you're underperforming this much offensively, like everything always will regress or progress to the mean. Like there's a reason why these are, but the defense cannot keep playing out of its mind like this. It just can't. So the next 10 games are going to be really fun to watch for St. Louis. It's just going to be whether or not, if they do get a good coach in, did they dig themselves too deep of a hole to get out of? And I think we're getting close to yes, they have.
Say if they do not turn it on in, like, I don't know, the next 5 to 6, I think if you get to the halfway point of the season and they're still, this behind, like they're right now, they're 5-6 points behind, the play-in spots for the playoffs. If you get to where you're 10-12 points out of the play-in spots by the time summer rolls around, I think you're done.
Yes.
You're out.
Yeah.
Like, other teams are going to also win games along the way. Making up a 12-point deficit, I think, would just be a little too much for, the 10 to 13 matches that you'd have left at that point.
No, I agree. And there are teams that are going to come crashing and falling out. Like we definitely have some overperformers that are going to fall. But man, you can't win the conference or win the league in the first part of the season, but you can darn well lose it. And St. Louis are flirting with that.
Yep. All right. Well, let's flirt with the final contestant here in our trifecta of teams that are just lucky to not be in contention for the spoon, which is Sporting Kansas City, who have wins. Peter Vermees was fired. They started getting wins. Coincidence? I think not.
Do you know what Kansas City's number one way for this season, the first 10 games of the season, through the number one way in which they score goals?
By distracting the goalkeeper with smells of barbecue.
Penalty kicks. The number one way in which they score is PKs.
If Daniel Gazdag was a team embodied...
Do you know what the second one is?
Own goals.
Set pieces.
Oh,
yes.
It's own goals third.
I know own goals is not one, but that would be awesome.
Oh, it's got...
this is... It's unsustainable, man. Like listen, okay, again, great penalty chances, like great chances, 50% score rate. They have given up 13 to other teams this year. That's an insane amount. Do you know how many they've created on the year?
I don't know, 6?
2. In the first 10 games, they only created 2 great chances. And do you know how many of those they scored?
Probably 0.
It was 0.
Yeah, that seems about right. They have
I mean, it's
you know what's Beau, you know what's insane about that stat?
What's that?
They have 17 goals scored.
It's incredible. There's a helicopter flying overhead, so hopefully it doesn't get
I'm looking at it. Other teams with 17 goals scored in the Western Conference. Seattle, LAFC.
That's bad.
Yeah, because both those teams are significantly higher up the table.
I don't know, like looking at, again, there are 12 different ways to score or goals. This is the first time that I can recall I've ever seen a 0 on cutback chances, which is what like Seattle's crazy good at, is a cutback. But like literally, like the guys coming into the box and then cutting back for a shot, not a single, like not even like 0.01, nothing, not a single chance has even been created through a cutback. Like there, I don't know what to say. This is it's a bad team that is relying on things like set pieces and penalty kicks that are not reliable and are not sustainable. So So
what
yeah,
you're saying is
they
if we
might be
cut the
worse than
season into
Montreal.
thirds,
They might be worse than Montreal.
that's a bold statement.
I know.
Would
That's why I
you?
said might.
Okay, what about this? Agree or disagree? Kansas City will score as many goals as they've scored to this point in the season, 17. They will score the same or fewer through the next 23 matches.
17 and 23.
If they are as bad as you claim.
I mean, smart money takes the, let's put it like this. I'm sitting here honestly thinking about it, and I feel like it's such a good question that I feel like you can make money on either one. It's that bad. Like the numbers show that it is that bad. I mean, think about this, dude. They just played the LA Galaxy and didn't win 1-0 without a single shot. Without a single shot. They beat them, which just kind of shows you, right? Like that's just kind of the season LA Galaxy. Like there's sometimes where you're just like, dude, it is not falling for us. Like it's one of those years. Like everyone has those. I'm gonna go under. I will take under 17. You said 23 matches, 17 goals. I'll go under.
All right.
I
We'll
don't
see.
I don't like it. I'm not betting a lot of money on it. But if the odds were like really good, like I throw down a tenner.
Okay. All right. Well,
So,
if anyone here happens to just run a gambling site and wants to create a bet just for Beau, put on that.
Oh man.
All right. So, final closing question. Kansas City, how many more points do you think? Like you've said, you think they're going to be right next to Galaxy, so they're at 14. How many more points do you think they get through the rest of this year?
I really don't know, man. I've always been, honestly, just the way my brain has worked, I've always been really bad at like remembering like what's like a good point number and what's like a bad point, like historically good
Like
and bad.
1.4 points per game is good.
They're definitely, I don't see that. Like, put it like this, I think that Sporting Kansas City will, it will be a boat race between them and the it's going to be a race between them and the LA Galaxy for who's going to finish bottom. Because if Ricky Pooch comes back around August, a month or two of Ricky Pooch can do a lot, can get you some points. And I could legitimately see Sporting Kansas City finishing in the cellar.
I think that's guaranteed.
Depending upon if Pooch comes back and when, right? Like if they're way out of the playoff race and it looks like he's going to be back around September, something like that, dude, just give the guy time. Like, don't even bring him back. Like, or if you're going to do, it's going to be little 15-minute subs just to be like, hey, look, you got to give him kind of that taste and go into the preseason. It's not going to be for any real duration. So if Pooch can come back in any real way, Kansas City finishes last.
All right. Well, let's keep on rolling then, Beau. We're gonna keep rolling up the table for that matter. We're looking at Salt Lake City sitting in 11th. They've firmly grasped 11th all on their own. They're sitting on 12 points, tied with nobody. Here's a fun stat that jumps out to me. They appear to be the only team in the league with 0 draws. They are all wins or losses.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Man, this is another team that they're not. The only thing that they're outperforming their opponents in is scoring goals on set piece passes. So scoring goals off of corners, off of free kicks. Actually, not even really free kick. Yeah, like off of a pass, off of a set piece. Everything else, progressive passes, actual set pieces, individual play, basic passing, they're being outperformed on. And so, and honestly, if you look at them, they should have given up more than what they have. They are, and the two main ways in which they're creating chances are off of what we call like basic pass shots. So it's not really like a progressive through ball, extending the field. It's like I'm passing the ball sideways and he's shooting it, right? Like those are low percentage shots, right? Like they're not really good. And the other one are set piece pass shots, like crosses in, corner, stuff like that. Those are the two main ways in which that they're producing chances. And those are not good. Like, your basic passing shot scores 0.03% of the time. So that means you would have to do 33 of those before you get a goal. On your set piece pass shots, it's 0.09. So you're only going to get, you basically, you need 10 corners a game to score one goal. And so it's just this is what they're doing, and they haven't scored on any of those. So it's just like, but this is the way in which they're going for chance creation, and they're not scoring. So they have good players, but the way in which they're actually playing isn't conducive to actually scoring goals. Is what the numbers are showing, at least. So I don't know. Honestly, you said it for a long time. I was really, really, I always thought you were crazy, but it kind of does make me wonder about Mastroeni. Maybe the voice in the room is getting stale. I don't know, but I mean, you have good players, right? And maybe you give him a few more games, right? Because he was having to play starting with Peel. I mean, Diego Luna, Willie Agata.
They have, yes.
Marks. I mean, Justin Glad's been like a borderline like all-star level center back this year. Like they've got good players. Rafael Cabral's been a huge upgrade at goalkeeper over Zach McMath. I mean, they have gotten better, but the playing hasn't. The style on field hasn't. And at some point, man, as much as I like Mastroeni, I really do. I think I've been a fan of his. It's just not working, and it makes me think that maybe it may be time for another voice. Similar to how maybe you just get those little shock results like Kansas City has gotten the last few weeks of just like, dude, we just got Peter Vermees fired. Like we need to do something, right? A different voice saying something different, and maybe that's it. But this isn't a playoff team. I don't think so. I think that the they have the fifth worst expected goal differential in the league. So I think that it's going to get worse. I think I don't see it getting better. As much as I like the individual pieces are not coming together to form a cohesive team. And so, yes. Real Salt Lake is what it is whenever I play Football Manager and I buy all these really good like individual guys, and you're like, oh, I love this guy. Oh, I love this guy's guy. And then you try to piece it together and you're like, I mean, it'll work, right? Like we'll get it to work. That's just kind of what RSL is, it seems like. Me on Football Manager.
Beau, I think here's the thing. I think Real Salt Lake will get even worse throughout the season because I'm going to take your favorite phrase, right? Regression to the mean.
Yeah.
If you look at who's scoring goals for them, every single player that has scored, they have 6 players who have scored. All of them other than Diego Luna has scored 1 goal. Diego Luna has scored 6, and he is vastly, vastly, vastly outperforming the expected goals.
And see, that can be true, but there are some guys like Dennis Bawanga who just always outperform their expected goals. Always. There are those guys who are just their talent makes them do it. I don't know. Bawanga's got a big enough track record. Now, this year he's not, right? This year he's actually underperforming. But overall, when you look at last year's, it's a track record of doing it. I don't think Luna has that track record, but I think you're right. Like I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, could you imagine how much worse they would be if he wasn't playing like he was?
Yeah, I mean, not only that, look, he has 9 shots on target for the season. He has 6 goals. Like, that's not sustainable.
But I mean, like some of his shots, like if you think about this, like it was his goal. I cannot remember who, but he's coming up on the left-hand side. He cuts in, and there are 2 defenders, and he kind of baits them in, and then shoots it and the 2 defenders like lunge in, and it goes right between them and it's like he's doing that on purpose. Like he's shooting in between those 2. So it's that thing of like the expected goal of scoring on that's going to be incredibly low, right? Because no one scores from there. But he did it on purpose. So it's some of those times like that's where you kind of have to match the eye test a little bit of like, man, the kid's good at soccer.
Like, oh, absolutely. And I think he will continue to be really good at soccer. I think he would just be even better on a different team.
He have big balls. How say big balls? Is that what that was? Yeah.
Either way,
work on my Pochettino impression.
Look, Salt Lake City are also not a playoff team. That is the conclusion. Agreed. Would you say 11th is a fair spot for them, or do you think they will go even further down to like 13th? Are they going to somehow go be in the basement with SKC and Galaxy?
I will say I expect I think that this is pretty close to where they are. I could see them in 11-12. Like, I think Galaxy, Kansas City, like, I think Real Salt Lake and St. Louis, Houston are all going to be kind of fighting for that, like 11, 12, 13 of that thing of like, but again, I could see either one of those. If St. Louis fires their coach, they get a guy who attacks, I could see them shooting up. Houston gets guys in like Nelson Quinones, Ezekiel Ponce, they come in, they hit the ground running, I could see them shooting up, right? But I'm not expecting that. I'm not betting money on it or saying it's going to happen, but if it did happen, I would be like, okay, makes sense. Like it makes some sense. It was against the odds, but it happened.
Fair enough. Over under 1.5 seasons in Salt Lake remaining for Diego Luna.
Diego Luna, under. Yeah, I don't expect. So actually, funnily enough, Real Salt Lake comes to FC Dallas this weekend. I genuinely believe this is the last time I'll ever see Diego Luna play
in person.
Yes, in person, 100%. Yes, and honestly, I don't. I watch a lot of MLS games, so even games overseas and stuff, I just don't watch near as much of, just because there's so much. So I'm a true MLS sicko who has an illness. So
right,
yeah.
The illness that the doctor has described. I read the diagnosis here. He said you are terminally chill.
Oh, terminally chill. Okay, the only cure is more cowbell.
The only cure is more MLS, Beau.
That's right.
You need to be watching more Sporting Kansas City and LA Galaxy so that your blood pressure can go straight to the moon.
Good thing I'm already on blood pressure medicine.
All right, well, let's keep shooting for the stars. That is Vancouver, but we're gonna slowly get a little bit higher up the table. We're going to San Jose, who sit in 10th. I think all of us had them so much higher. Beau, tell me why we're actually going to be right by the end of the season and why they're better than they look.
San Jose is a riddle wrapped in an enigma and nested into a sesame seed bun of mystery, is what they are. They have taken the most shots in MLS and they have given up the second most. And
not the fun kind of shots, mind you.
No. They're creating really good shots and they're giving up really good shots. So it's really fun to watch.
Yeah. But hammer the over anytime they play.
I mean, I really like this take on American soccer. It's like, in a forgiving league where it's more difficult to miss the playoffs than to make them, why not play like this? And that's just, there you go. I mean, literally, it's just like you've got Chicho Arango, Christian Espinoza, Joseph Martinez, Amal Pellegrino, and they're just like, I bet we can outscore you. San Jose is the Western Conference Miami. Just without, all the fun, really good players taking massive pay cuts in a salary cap league to play with. I mean, look, Chicho Arango, Christian Espinoza is really good, but people aren't like, holy crap, you're telling me I can go play with Christian Espinoza? They're like, yeah, hey, we've got a ton of applicants. Settle down, kid. Get in line. It's just not happening.
Right. Are you willing to take a 75% pay cut to make it happen?
Exactly. It's really interesting too, because they're offensively they're outperforming everyone except for the number one way in which to score goals is progressive passing, and their defense is letting up a crap ton of progressive passing opportunities. They are getting played through like no one else. And so I don't know if Noel Buck may help shore that up or what. I don't know. They're playing a 3-5-2. And maybe some of this could be, Beau LaRue has been incredible this year. And maybe that's kind of some of the growing pains of having a young guy, right there in the middle. I don't know. I haven't watched them enough to like really sit down or cared enough to really break it down. But yeah, San Jose is one that I can see them. I really, really secretly really hope that they make like the play-in game, and then it's just like, what's defense? And then it's just gonna be high flying, and the other teams are gonna have to be like, holy crap, we've got to open up too, and it's just gonna be fun to watch, fun soccer to watch.
Like good, clean family.
A San Jose Charlotte game. Is there a better matchup? in the league?
Like,
is there a
here's my
better,
question:
more fun game to watch?
Is the Charlotte match at home?
Oof, neutral site.
Then it would be very fun.
Yes. Yeah.
If it's at Bank of America, just call it. That's a 1-0 result.
That's true. That's true. That's all I really want to say about San Jose. They're good, but
yeah,
they're so bad in other ways.
I'm noticing a trend. Okay, and so San Jose, Salt Lake, Sporting Kansas City, St. Louis, Houston, LA Galaxy, all of them are giving up enormous numbers of great scoring chances, and they're also not creating any of their own great scoring chances. And we're seeing, other than San Jose, who have scored more goals than literally any other team in the league, but we're seeing this manifest in, if you look at Vancouver, they have 8 goals allowed in the West. And again, Western Conference team, right? They have 8 goals allowed and 22 goals scored. Like, it's the best goal differential by a mile.
We're going to talk about, like, Vancouver's historically good at the moment. Like, we're talking like the comparisons being thrown around were the 2019 LAFC team. Like, and the numbers look like they match. Like, it's like we're talking an all-time great team right here that we're watching.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. Shoot, they might even go win the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Dude, I so hope. Oh my gosh, it'd be amazing.
I think they're like the only team that seems to be able to win in Mexico. So
that is so true. Man, that would be. Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine if Vancouver did the double? They won the West and won CONCACAF Champions Cup.
If they did that, do you know how many kids born 9 months from them will be named Jesper? They'll be like
3, 4.
Yeah, probably. But still.
All right, well, let's keep moving up the table. Beau, we are officially out of the cellar. We're into the 5 to 9 spot. We're mid-table teams who are, they're the away leg playoff or the play-in team, and that's why we're starting with, the team near and dear to your heart, Dallas in 9th place, barely. Now, it's interesting because they are sitting on very close to 1.4 points per game, which prior to the expansion to 9 teams making the playoff, 1.4 points per game was the benchmark that you would expect to have to hit to make 7th place and to make the playoffs. Which, it's now interesting to me that Dallas, who sit in 9th, technically still the playoffs, sitting right around that 1.4 mark.
Yeah, I don't see this as sustainable. Dallas is. I'm looking at the standings. Dallas, I think
there's only one team below them that's better than them, for the record.
Which be what, San Jose?
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, if they lose again and then they go out and find a new coach, St. Louis will pass them. I mean,
the longer they wait, the better it's looking for Dallas.
Which is kind of what it is. I can see Colorado stumbling because they've just been so incredibly bad defensively. FC Dallas will not get in the playoffs because of how good they are. It will be despite someone else's. Will be because other teams are underperforming. Will be how they get in the playoffs in this current iteration. Right now, prior to last week, that shellacking, they were giving up exactly as many goals for as they did against. Like they were on almost like a dead even 0, and it's just that's you watch them play. They're too easy to play through midfield. Ramiro, I'm not a fan, especially when he's on the ball. I don't know how to say this. They have a bunch of dudes, is what it is. Dallas is a bunch of fast, athletic dudes, and they're trying to get by on individual play and just we're going to outcompete, and it's working sometimes, right? Like Anderson, Julio, and those guys like came in, they shocked Miami, but yeah, it's not working at the moment. It's not looking good. So that's what I will say.
Now, I think what jumps out to me, just on initial look, is that there is another team you didn't mention that I think is also one who could slip below them, which is Austin.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Why I don't think it's going to happen, even though I want it to. Like I just we'll get to them in
I've
a
got a
few.
reason it will
I
happen.
wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. But the honestly a big thing. And do you want to know what's really crazy? Is Martin Paz hasn't been amazing this year. They have American Soccer Analysis has him. He's given up 5 rebounds that have gone in for shots, and 3 of which have gone in. So he's given up, which means he's given up 6 goals when he should have been at like 3.7, 3.5. So it's like he's giving up way. So like his Martin Paz has taken a step back this year. So for all the people, is it Indonesia? Don't get mad. I'm just quoting stats out there. And they've only given up 1 goal on set pieces, which is kind of crazy. They're really good there. But yeah, overall, they don't have an attacking identity. When I watch them play, I don't. When I watch them play, I don't know what the idea is besides get the ball to Lucho and see if he can make something happen. Especially with Musa out, there's not a system in play, and I'm glad that's what the commentators on the last game talked about. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one. Like when you hear people who are smarter than you say the same thing, you're like, okay, yeah. And it's what it is. There's no ideas other than we're going to be more athletic than you, which is what Eric Quill likes. But that's not a plan to go out and win games. That's a team building strategy, not a game winning strategy.
I feel like being more athletic than the other team is something that works well at like USL Championship, USL One, MLS Next Pro, which correct me if I'm wrong,
Is
where
where he
did
came
Eric
from.
Quill?
Yeah. So I don't know. I know that the players like him. I know the players really like Eric Quill. They like the mentality and the stuff and the coaching staff. The players have really bought in. They like him, but I don't know what the plan is. I wonder if at any point if Lucho's like, man, Pat Noonan, I had it so good, and now here I am. Oh well. All right, that's enough of
Hard to say.
Dallas. That's enough of Dallas.
I suppose it is. Here's a final question, final thought. Let's say Musa comes back, gets healthy, stays healthy for the rest of the season. Does that change any of Dallas's outlook?
Man, even looking at it, and it's like they looked okay, but it's like
Okay makes the playoffs in this league.
but I mean, it's like Denke and Evander, right? Like those guys should be able to hook up and link better than they are, but they're not. And that's just kind of where we're at right now. It's like the offense and defense are on pace to give up the exact same amount of goals, which means you're not gonna draw your way into the playoffs. FC Dallas found that out last year when they went draw after draw after draw, and I don't think that. I mean, again, the individual talent is there. They're kind of like RSL. FC Dallas reminds me a lot of RSL. The individual players, the individual pieces are there, but they don't play in a way in which is conducive to win soccer. And that's
Well,
about all I got to say about that.
right now they are winning enough to make a playoff spot, though. So
Well, or
we will
a
let them enjoy
final
it while they
series
can.
play in, yeah. But I
Yeah,
definitely see San Jose leaping past them.
I think that there's a strong possibility of that. But as we said, there's some teams above them that we could see sliding down. One of them we're about to discuss right now, sitting in eighth, Colorado, who sit
Yeah.
only marginally better. Like, I mean, we're talking a 1 point difference. And interestingly enough, right? 15 goals forced. Dallas has scored 14. Really, the only difference between these sides is the fact that Dallas had that one horrific match in terms of goals allowed. If you take that out, they're sitting at probably right around the same spot as Colorado.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Colorado is Colorado's being held back by their defense. Their defense has been so bad, so leaky, um, and they're only where they are because of Zach Steffen. Like Zach Steffen has been like borderline MVP caliber level this year. They're letting up. I think what I have it written down here. So they're last in expected goals allowed, which is I don't mean last in like a good way. I mean in a bad way. Like, this is not a team that is playing well defensively, and they let a ton of chances through on progressive passes. Like, teams are playing through the defense with ease and getting quality chances. Zach Steffen is just bailing them out time and time again. And so if they didn't have Zach Steffen, man, they'd be cellar dweller contenders. So yeah, I don't know unless it's a formation change or what, but something's got to change because they have just been too easy to play through so far this year.
It's a formation change, something that you see happening, or do you think we see it, because we see it every year? You think we're going to see a Chris Armas firing instead?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, like, it's a good question because I'm sitting here looking at the only thing in which they are outperforming all the other teams by is set piece goals. They're out every other. I mean, and that's because they have Georgi Mihailovic, right? Who's a freaking wizard at that. They're getting outplayed in expected goals in every other way. And so I'm sitting here looking at the numbers, and I'm just like, I don't know. It might have to be. It might have to be. I mean, talk about ruining on a guy's parade who was just inducted in the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame, then he's fired. Hey, hope 2025 is as good for you as it was for Chris Armas. But I don't know. Something has to change, though. And they went out and they got guys. But I don't know if those guys, like, I'm not as high as I guess others people were on. I really wanted to like Chidozie Awoziem. But man, with Cincinnati last year, he would just make some really weird, stupid mistakes and would be out of position. Same thing with was it Ian Murphy? Is that the other one?
Yeah, Ian Murphy.
I always want to say Calvin Murphy, but there's another Calvin.
But there's a
Colorado.
Calvin Harris.
Thank you. I was to say I knew that the two Cincinnati guys. It's like an amalgamation. And so yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was a good deal at the time, but then you're like, this is your starting pair. Like, this is it. Like, Ian Murphy's like a dream third center back. Like, like, I don't know if he's an MLS caliber starter or fourth. You think fourth even? Yeah, honestly could be. And so, yeah, I don't know if they have the talent. I mean, could you imagine though if they had freaking Moise Bombito still? Like this,
I could imagine
this team would be. But alas, was not to be.
One of the things, like, Colorado just finds random amazing center backs, though. Like, and here's the other thing, right? If you look at someone like Awoziem as, like, if he's your second best center back, you're in a great spot. Yes. If Ian Murphy is your, first off the bench center back, you're in a great spot.
Yeah, they really need another number one. They need a number one level center back.
Yeah, and that's kind of where, like, with FC Cincinnati, right? When Awoziem would make errors, they're overshadowed by the fact that there's other really good center backs near him. I mean, granted, Miazga was injured during that time period, but you had Robinson. Yeah. And, like, you have another person who can, like, help cover for that.
Yeah, I don't think Chidozie Awoziem can be the guy. I don't think he's good enough.
Yes, he is definitely part of a MLS Cup winning center back partnership or trio, but he is not the number one.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think until Colorado probably and look, I'm not a big Sam Vines guy either. Like, I'm not a big, like, their outside back. I haven't really looked into the numbers as to how Reggie Cannon and stuff has done this season. I remember a while ago it wasn't looking super great for either of them, but that may have changed. It's been a month or two since then, but yeah, Colorado definitely needs some center back help.
Right, I'm going to throw one question to you. We are now out because we're going to go to seventh, right? We're out of the play-in spot. We're out of the bottom of the table. These are the proper playoff teams. Looking at the bottom of the table, is the West as bad as people seem to like to say it is on social media?
No, because I think that you have New York City, NYCFC is in seventh. The Red Bulls are literally 1 point out from playoff. No, I don't think so. I mean, now, top end, honestly, man, I don't even know. Because, yeah, top end, like Columbus, Philly, Cincy, Vancouver, Minnesota, like, man, those are some good freaking teams right there. Like I would pay money to watch any of those games. I think Seattle eventually finds their way up to second or third, which is the team we're talking about next. But
It is
I,
the team
I
we're talking
think
about next.
I'm a little bit higher on them than others, I think. But yeah, I don't think that there's like, because I don't think Nashville is. I think Nashville will regress a bit. Yeah, I think it's close. It's not. It's definitely not near the gap that people say it is.
Yeah, I think as I look at it, right, when I look at the bottom teams between the East and the West, I'm like, those are pretty comparable
I,
bottom
I
sets.
Man, I don't know. I feel like the West may have some worse bottom teams. Like I would like think about Atlanta. Like Atlanta
I
would
was just gonna
beat,
say that the East might have some equally bad bottom teams,
but
though.
like Atlanta would beat. I feel like would beat Houston, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Salt Lake.
Maybe it's hard
Maybe,
to say with Atlanta.
maybe that's so true. Yeah, ugh,
Like,
that's a good point.
for instance, look at Montreal, look at Toronto, right? Like,
Yeah,
not good teams, right? But then you also look at LA Galaxy, not a good team. Houston, not a good team. Where do you draw the line for where teams start to look competent? You maybe draw it at like San Jose, right, in 10th,
yeah,
and you probably draw it around 10th, 11th in the East as well, for like New York City, or sorry, New York Red Bulls, or Chicago. Like, but your bottom teams, you look at them and you're like, oh, I don't think I would pick these teams to win against anyone unless they were playing Montreal or LA Galaxy.
no, that's a really good point. Yeah,
Something to consider.
it's a
We'll get
good
to the,
question.
the, the top half. The top half of the table is a whole different conversation.
That is very true. I do agree with that.
Yeah. And we're going to start going into the top half. We're going into the top half for the West. You already spoiled the surprise. It's Seattle, who sit in seventh. Now, I want to note Seattle are actually tied with Colorado and with Austin right above them. All three of those teams are on 16 points, but tiebreaker has Seattle in seventh, which is a proper playoff spot. You seem to think they will find their way up the table, which is interesting because I think they sit in like the 5 to 7 range at the end of the season.
But see, this is what Seattle does year after year. They start the season slow, they get hot going to the playoffs, and that's just what they do. That somehow Schmetzer has that like bottled, and it's as reliable as a death and taxes, and Brian Schmetzer getting hot going into the playoffs.
It's like the SpongeBob meme where he pulls out the old reliable case.
Yes. Here's what's interesting though. One of the second most the second most, or maybe one of the most shocking stats that I read through all this research. So in over 270 home game minutes, which is like almost three full games, right? When they're behind, they're losing. They have failed to score a goal at home when losing in basically three full games worth of time. They have failed to generate a great or even a good chance, and their average xG per shot is 0.05, which means they would have to shoot, for those of you math at home, they would have to shoot basically 20 times with how they are. Yes, you see your little like carry the one. They would have to shoot 20 times on their current shot creation way in order to score a goal. That's through the first 10 games. They cannot break down a compact defense, which is crazy when you have Albert Rusnak, which who has been hurt. He hasn't been playing a lot, but so maybe that definitely has something to do with it. And Pedro
Not
de
the
la
only
Vega
injury they have as well.
And Pedro de la Vega. That's true. They've definitely had some injuries and stuff, but that's why we all praise them, right? Is they went out and they got depth to cover injuries. But
now their depth are their starters.
Right. But the thing that's crazy is that you can't rely on scoring first to win a game every time. Like you can't do it. So I like them if they can get that figured out, which I'm sure they will. They've changed formations and everything else. And it makes me wonder, like, they're the ones that have I think they lead the league in expected goals on cutbacks, which is where Danny Musovski's been scoring all his goals. And Musovski's really like just has exploded this year. He's been amazing. But here, you know what's really interesting? They have the second least expected goals conceded behind only Vancouver. And so they're actually like they're actually pretty solid defensively, right? And we expect that, right? Nuhu, Gamar, Jackson Reagan, who's is Alex Roldan? I mean, these defense is good. It's just that the forward play and some of the midfield link up has not been the best. So, and yeah, I don't know. I know Christian Roldan has moved to more of kind of an 8 role. I don't know if maybe moving him forward, maybe unlocks that a little bit. Again, I don't know. These are questions for. There's a
These are
reason.
questions for Brian Schmetzer.
Yes, exactly. Because that opens a whole host of other problems. Because as much as I like Paul Rothrock a lot, but he's pretty sloppy on the ball. His touch is not great. I like Georgie Manuhu a lot, but there are times when he's just not really present. Like he's good in behind. He's not going to break down the defense for you. So yeah, I can see Seattle. I think Seattle's ceiling, personally looking at it, I could see Seattle finishing third. If you told me that they skipped, I can see Portland dropping down to a wild card spot. San Diego too. I can see. I think LAFC and Seattle are going to be the ones that climb up the table, and it's going to be Minnesota, LAFC, and Seattle kind of jostling for the 2, 3, and 4 spots.
That's interesting because I agree with you on LAFC and Minnesota. I personally think San Diego stays in and around there, for the record. But we'll talk about that in a little while.
I see San Diego going in that 5, 6, 7 spot. I think that I don't think they're going to be able to beat out Seattle, LAFC, Minnesota, or Vancouver to host a home playoff game.
I don't think anyone's beating out Vancouver.
Well, true. Yeah, that's just But between, I think that Minnesota, LAFC, and Seattle Sounders, if I had to tell you, you're going to take those three. If you had to take 3 of the 4, are you taking San Diego above Minnesota?
Seattle, yes.
So you're taking San Diego above Seattle.
I'm telling you, I think Seattle finish in a 5, 6, 7 spot. I think your ending top 4 will be Vancouver, Minnesota, LAFC, San Diego in that order.
Oh, see, say that again. Vancouver.
I think it's going to be Vancouver, Minnesota, LAFC, San Diego.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think I could see Seattle getting to third. I think more likely they're in the 4-5 conversation. I wonder with San Diego if teams have kind of found them out like their way, which we're kind of getting ahead a little bit, but I kind of wonder if they've been found out a bit and that the points per game is going to drop.
But potentially, see. But again, yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about it. I have some thoughts as to why I think that won't be the case.
Yeah,
but for now, we'll stay on task. Anything else you want to talk about for Seattle before we move up to a team that I think both of us have some very, very concerning thoughts on, which is Austin?
Yes, one more thing. I am concerned about
I'm about
oh, that's awesome. I am concerned about Seattle and Obed Vargas not being around past the summer window. I think that right there makes it to where they could be 5, 6, 7th place team. I mean, honestly, Obed Vargas is just that good. Like he is. If you look at some of the chances he's creating and the fact that he's a literal teenager still, like literal like een at the end of his thing, like it's incredible. And so, yes, I think that is going to be huge. As well as again, they lose Pedro de la Vega for any amount of time, or Rusnak, then yeah, no, the Seattle team has a lot of high upside, but it's also one of those high risk. There's several things that could go wrong, but I mean, are you going to go against? I mean, you are going against Brian Schmetzer. I'm not.
And I want to note it's not necessarily that I'm against Brian Schmetzer. I think there is a lot more upside in other teams, And the advantages that we think Seattle had, which was this really, really robust roster, right? They've already lost that advantage. At this point, it's like, okay, if their advantage was robust roster, able to like rotate, keep guys healthy for this whole season and stay, in form down the stretch, now they don't have that anymore. Like that was their big selling point. That was a big advantage to be like, oh, they're going to be peak condition every time they play. Now they're going to be exposed to exactly what everyone else is being exposed to, with the addition of the fact that if they suffer injuries, and we never want teams to, but it's almost inevitable. What's the drop off going to look like?
And look, here's another thing. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I mean, these guys are professionals, right? But just going out, what if you go out in the Club World Cup and you get embarrassed by Atletico Madrid and PSG? Just spanked, 9-0, 11-1. What does that do for a team's confidence? Especially if you're playing your A team. Again, but at the same time, what if you go out there and you only lose 2-1, or you draw PSG or Atletico Madrid and you hold your own? What does that do? I don't know. Again, I know these guys are professionals, so blah blah blah, but they're also human, and so, the Seattle. There's a lot of fun things to watch to see how it plays out this season, and Seattle is right up at the top for me on that. Then we get to Austin. This was my most fun stat that I found was from Austin.
I want to hear a fun stat. Please tell me, and I hope it has something to do with their goals scored.
It does. So, they have a worse post-shots expected goal than expected goals. So if you're like, wait, what does that mean? Here's what that means. Their odds of scoring a goal are higher than when they shoot the ball. After they shoot the ball, their odds of scoring a goal are actually lower, which means that their finishing is that bad. Like Brandon Vasquez has the 5th lowest. So there's goals and then minus non-penalty expected goals. So basically not including penalties. Like what is your expected goals of how you're expected to score? He's the 5th worst in MLS. 5th worst in MLS. Brandon Vasquez. And it's just like literally like the fact that you're like, oh, we have a better chance of scoring before the ball is shot. That's how good Azuni and Vasquez have been. And so
good is a strong way of describing that.
Yes, yes, that was it. The fact that the probability of scoring a goal is higher than when they shoot it, than higher before they shoot it than after they shoot it, is just like, what? So yes, that was my fun fact of the day.
Yeah, that is an incredible fun fact, Beau. I'm telling you right now, it was better than what I expected, because I thought you were going to be like, I thought you were going to say, oh, they actually have the fewest goals scored in the Western Conference, and that puts them even below teams like the LA Galaxy and St. Louis City.
No,
and I was going to be like, that's a fun stat, but it's very simple. But to say that they are more likely to score before they kick the ball than after they kick the ball is chef's kiss. Incredible.
No, literally, the exact quote, their shots have a higher probability of being goals before they shoot them. That is just, I need that on a t-shirt. Austin, where shots have a higher probability of being goals before they're shot.
It's the Schrodinger shots. Do you know if it's a goal?
That's true. It's not really, it's a goal or not a goal till it's shot. Yep.
Yeah, but in this case, it's once you open the box, the attack is dead.
Yeah, that's it always dead.
Yeah, it's 100% of the time it is dead.
Yep. Yeah, and all their points are coming from home. They are really bad on the road. So, I mean, hey, if you can keep getting points at home and grinding out a tie or a draw on the road, that's a recipe for success. But yeah,
I mean, look, here's my biggest concern, right? And you're very familiar with this name, Nico Estevez.
I've heard of him. I'm aware. Yeah.
He became the coach of FC Dallas for a reason, which is he very clearly showed that he could take an elite team of players who were professional athletes, part of the 0.1%, of people to play this type of sport and could take them and somehow make them worse than not just the sum of their parts, but if you randomly put them in positions on the field. And now that is happening again in Austin because there's a roadmap. Like Brandon Vasquez was part of the highest scoring strike partnership in MLS history.
Yeah.
And he took that, right? And he was like, here's a clear roadmap for success to get someone, to 19 goals a season. I'm going to do something completely different. And not only is he doing that, he's like doubling down. And it's just like you're a third of the way through the season, and to your point, Vasquez has the 5th worst XG in the league.
It's pretty incredible. And that's the thing, looking at like Owen Wolf is having to carry most of the chance creation load. And that's a lot, man. That's a lot on a young kid. Like, that's a lot. Do you want to know a fun fact?
Beau, after the last fun fact you shared to me, I don't know how you can beat that.
This is not as good, but so Nico Estevez, I was talking to him one time and like told him kind of a thing, like, hey, like, little fun fact thing. And he took what I said and used it in a press conference as one of his quotes and like tried to take credit for it. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I was talking to him. This was a couple of years ago about like Dallas was kind of struggling to get into the playoffs and things weren't looking super great. And talking to him, I was like, hey man, you know what? Just aim to be like the Seattle Sounders. Get hot going into the playoffs. That's all that matters. Just make it and get hot going in. And the very next press conference, he goes, we want to be a lot like the Seattle Sounders. That's kind of our goal. We're going to get hot going in. And it was funny because a lot of the local reporters, Nico Estevez has no experience in the league. He was hired because he was a Greg Berhalter guy, brought him from Spain. People were like, man, it's kind of crazy. I wouldn't have thought he would have known the league as well as he does. But apparently he seems to know a lot more than people think. And I was like, are you kidding me? Anyway, that's my fun fact on Nico Estevez. Apparently I'm his PR guy, giving him good quotes.
You're his muse.
I was not paid for that either. Or credited.
Wow. And you're not being paid for this, just to be clear. So.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, it's unfortunately only David gets the big bucks.
That's true. Tens and tens of dollars going to David.
Tens and tens of pennies on the dollar.
That's right.
Now, Beau, I just want to point out, okay, I pulled up the Austin FC shooting statistics for the year. It's bleak, let me tell you, okay? We talked about underperforming, right?
Yeah.
Brandon Vasquez has 31 shots.
Whoa.
2 goals.
That is a high return rate. Very high return rate.
The thing that's going to shock you here, or maybe not shock you at all, right? Then you get to Uzuni, 25 shots, 1 goal. Bakari, 17 shots, 1 goal.
Wow.
All of these guys.
Who's leading the team in goals?
Brandon Vasquez.
It is Brandon Vasquez with 2 goals. Okay. I mean, just
Brandon Vasquez. Here's an incredible stat.
You tell me he's on track for 6 goals and is going to lead the team. He's on track to lead the team with 6 goals.
Yeah. Here's something else you're going to love. In the 90 minutes that he played against the El Paso Locomotive in the U.S. Open Cup, on Wednesday, the 7th of May, he had 2 goals and 1 assist, which eclipses his goals and assists through the entire season. He has 2 goals, 0 assists in almost 900 minutes, and in 90 minutes versus El Paso, beat that.
Let's just hope that it doesn't change, though, in that literally Brandon Vasquez becomes the team's leading goal scorer after they spent, 20-30 million on attacking stuff? And they get combined, it'd be less than 10 goals from all 3, right? For the year? No, it would be like
they might get like 11
it would be less. It would be less than 15. Yeah, it would be. Oh my gosh, could you imagine how wonderful that would be? Oh,
could you imagine spending 20 million on an attacking trio and paying more than 1 million per goal?
Oh boy.
It's incredible. And it's not like Vasquez only has 12 shots on target out of those 31 shots, and he's got 5 expected goals. Like, if you told me 12 shots on target, 5 expected goals, like, without the context of 31
It's
shots,
not.
I
Yeah,
would
that's
listen to
not
that and
bad.
be like,
Yeah.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
But
No,
that tells me, like,
they really need to focus on shooting practice. Like they need some real shooting drills in Austin. Is what we're learning.
I don't like. Does it come down to shooting, or does it come down to the fact that the players aren't being put in any sort of position to get a good shot?
I mean, the fact that a ball has a higher chance of scoring before it's shot means it's probably shooting, right? The fact that it's like that. Oh, we're passing it. Oh, we're passing to Vasquez. Like this has. Oh, here comes Brandon. All right. Oh, yep. He's Brandoning things. Let's go, Brandon.
Look, he's much more proficient scoring with his head than he is with his feet.
That is true. That is entirely true. Yeah.
Cross the ball in.
Who's I mean, you know what? I really wonder if you're telling me that Driussi, that Uzuni's been an upgrade over Driussi, that Driussi wouldn't be able to provide some of this service.
And Driussi would be able to. Yeah. Uzuni clearly can't.
You would think. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have a lot great to say about Austin at this point. I think there's a real. I think Austin. My ceiling for them is 7.
As in number of goals scored the rest of the year?
No. My ceiling for them is 7. I honestly think they will probably be in the play-in game.
The incredible thing about saying 7 as their ceiling means that they have better chances right now of making the playoffs sitting in 6th than they do after they've played the match.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, here's an unfun fact. If you're Austin FC, if you remove 2020 FC Cincinnati, who scored 12 goals in the shortened season, the next fewest goals scored is DC United at 21 in a season, and right now Austin FC are on pace to tie them.
Ooh, fun. You would have thought, like, is this better than what Josh Wolf would have given them? No, really, honest question. Like, is this better? Like, if you tell me if you gave Josh Wolf, Brandon Vasquez, and Uzuni, that he couldn't do this?
I don't think he could do worse in terms of production.
Right. So, anyway, sorry.
It's a good question.
Things are very perplexing in Austin, and I don't really know what to make of them. They're very.
How about this?
They're weird.
How about we make our way away from Austin and talk about someone else?
Oh, that would be good. Although the barbecue in Austin's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, keep in mind, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but keep in mind, Seattle 7, Austin 6, just to remind you where the table sits. LAFC 5. This is our next stop. So these are, this is our messy middle, if you will. These are your guaranteed playoff teams that would be on the away side. LAFC rounds it out. You're quite convinced they go higher. I'm quite convinced they go higher. Tell me why that is reliant on them not having Olivier Giroud playing or entirely changing their system to accommodate a target striker.
I mean, it's pretty clear that they're better with Ordaz and Chirundolo out. I mean, out there. Like with Giroud. Look, I know this is going to be a thing. It's like I can pull the receipts if needed, but I was on the SoccerWise Discord, and when they signed Olivier Giroud, and I said, I was like, I don't think this is a good signing. Like I doesn't fit this. And people told me that I was crazy and I was stupid, including some very prominent people that cover MLS, that talent will always rise to the top, blah, blah, blah. I feel like Nostradamus, even though no one ever remembers that. I don't know, to me, it's not shocking. He slowed this team. It's very quick, vertical counterattack thing, and I just don't think like that doesn't
Olivier
fit
Giroud is not a
Giroud's style.
counterattacking player.
No, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, he'll hold up play and they'll get off." And it's like, no, like Bowanga, and then it was Kiki Oliveira. Like they feed by being out wide. Like Olivier Giroud's not quick enough to go outside and hold up the ball. Like it never fit to me.
Yeah,
and I think
and
it was
even if
good.
he's in the
It was
middle,
going to get worse if they brought in Antoine Griezmann. Like I think him deciding to stay at Atletico Madrid's a saving grace. I don't see that getting better. No, I think that the reason why it gets LAFC will get better is because Bawanga has been. If you just look at like Bawanga, like some of his shots is like keepers making incredible saves. It's right. Like he's been way underperforming his expected goals. If it goes back to the mean, I mean, he's gonna like his individual talent can very much carry this team. However, that said, this team. Their number one way of scoring goals at the moment is individual play. It's Bawanga taking a dude on, shaking him, and then getting a shot. It's stuff like that, like Jeremy Abobasi dribbling the ball and then cutting real quick, and placing a perfect shot. That's how they're scoring goals. Their progressive passes are way down. Like I mean, everything is down based off of last year. They're 11th in expected goals, out not including penalties, non-penalty expected goals, and
it's not good.
No,
it's not bad, but it's not good.
They're not playing near as vertical either. Like if you look at the actual distance of their progressive passes and stuff, it's much shorter. Like they're not running in
who's
behind.
on the field.
That's a really good point. Like Under, I have not been impressed with Under at all.
Yeah, the players, to your point, right? The players that they have on the field do not suit the style of play where your stars thrive. Bouanga thrives in a specific style. The rest of the players surrounding him on that attack don't fit that style. The rest of the team is still trying to play a style that suits Bouanga, which is fair because by far their best player in terms of scoring threat. But you're essentially playing, 2-3 positions down because they don't fit. They don't mesh.
Yeah. Right now, about a quarter of their goals are coming through individual played moments. Guys having an individual moment of brilliance scoring goals. And that you just can't rely on that. That is just, there's a reason why soccer is a team sport. Like if you took Messi and dropped him in a USL team, and then you put out LAFC is going to win every time. Just because like Messi is great, he's the greatest ever play, right? But it's like Messi is good because the players around him allow him to be good and know what to do and to give him and to make up for the fact that like it's a team sport and they're not playing as a team, they're playing as individuals.
There you go. Yep. As a side note, so Steve Trundle leaves LAFC at the end of the season. I am curious to see if they retain Olivier Giroud in future, in the coming season, for instance, because if you're changing the coach...
I don't think he's back. I don't think he's here past the summer. He's not playing. I think the best thing they could do is they both mutually agree to part ways, and he goes back to France and sees out his career. I think that when you're looking at a legend like that, that's the most respectful thing to do, rather than him sitting behind Abobasi and Nathan Ordaz. That's
realistically, that's probably fair.
That's what I think happens, and I would bet money on it.
And it's better for the team. It's better for Giroud's career, but
it's not better for jersey sales.
Yeah,
but it's better for everyone overall.
Right, and that's why then they have room to bring in Antoine Griezmann.
He's already re-signed with Atletico Madrid, thankfully.
So you're telling me big transfer fee?
You're saying there's a chance.
All right, so LAFC, we're saying, is going to get better. Fifth is... I still think, I could see a world where they end fifth, but I do agree with you. I think they just slide up a little bit. Third or fourth.
LAFC, I have less question marks about. I think the summer transfer window is going to be a big one for them. Under won't be here after that. I think that might be a good thing. I don't know who's going to take their place, but honestly, they've done a really good job of acquiring talent. Outside of Giroud, there's not really a guy that they've brought in like Kiki Oliveira, David Martinez, these guys where it's like they haven't really hit, right? These guys that you're like, oh, I haven't heard of them, but then they haven't hit the ground running. I think LAFC is a much safer bet to get that 3-4 spot than Seattle. I think Seattle has too many things of, oh, these guys are older, they could get injured. How does Club World Cup go? Is Obed Vargas going to be there? Like, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I feel much better about LAFC hanging around.
Ooh, so you're telling me that you think Seattle does not make the top 4? Ooh.
No, I think I think it's Seattle or San Diego in 4-5.
All right. Well, let's talk about San Diego then, who I think firmly finishes in that top 4 spot. My prediction would be 4th for the record. Because hear me out. I do think you're right that they're maybe starting to get found out a little bit. However, we know how well teams can finish, right? When they have a really, really, really strong stretch in the first half of the season. I want you to listen to, and I use this as the comparison point. St. Louis City had an incredible start to their first season, like unbelievable, historically good start. Got to a strong start. Nobody ever caught up with them. Because it's hard to catch up down the stretch as the season goes on. So I want you to listen to the month of May for San Diego. They play St. Louis.
Heard of them.
They play Colorado. They play Sporting Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
They play LA Galaxy. They play Seattle. And they play Austin.
I can see them losing to Seattle and Colorado. Is Colorado home or away?
Colorado. San Diego hosts Colorado.
Okay. I depend. I mean, again, Colorado's the one team where, man, they could show up and beat you 4-0 or lose 4-0. Like you never really know. The thing with San Diego, so San Diego has allowed the most fast break expected goals in MLS. Like they are very, very, like San Diego is, when you look at their numbers, teams are playing through them at a remarkable rate. Like they are like Swiss cheese defensively. That if you're going to do a through ball, long ball over the top, they can't defend it. And San Diego's idea of defense was to possess the ball. And I think that that's what is getting found out. That other teams are like, now I said that, again, the problem with FC now, yeah, I know they beat FC Dallas 5-0 at this, but again, probably not a realistic scoreline, right? Because FC Dallas late is having to push numbers up, blah, 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 right? But, it was a legit 2-0, 3-0 game, but like, I was talking with one of the players after the game, and I was like, man, like, I know it was rough, but like, honestly, the first half was totally even. Like honestly, like both teams had, and honestly, San Diego only had really 2 or 3 great chances, and they scored the 2 or 3 goals off of those great chances. They just finished. It was a really even first half. It wasn't until the second half until they started bringing in these young guys and subs that it got out of hand really quickly. But again, FC Dallas doesn't have a sense of play. They don't have a play style. It's just, hey, what can Lucho do? Which is not a great way. But we're done talking about Dallas. That's where I think that San Diego's thing is. That's where I think that maybe they've been found out, that teams are going to try to outpossess them or kind of lull you in and then play you through, play over the top.
How many teams are good in MLS at possessing the ball,
though? I mean, there's a direct correlation to possession and points per game. So the better you are at possessing, the better you are at winning, which is what makes me think San Diego can stay towards the top. San Diego is a for sure, in my opinion, for sure playoff team, beyond shadow of a doubt. Yeah. Yep. They are on the verge. I think the only team is better. I mean, Vancouver, Minnesota, for sure better than them. I like LAFC a little more long term. But again, and honestly, if you're telling me, hey, Seattle, San Diego going into a first round matchup, best of 3 playoff series, I'm taking Seattle. Those are, I mean, I'll take the guys who've been there, done that, many, many times, have many of the t-shirts. I like San Diego, but when you look at it, they're getting outplayed in, like, they're giving up greater XG in every single category except for set piece passing. So they are better at scoring goals off of set pieces. Other than that, they're giving up better opportunities in every other aspect. And so I just don't know how sustainable it is. That's my concern with Elliott, with San Diego, which maybe goes back to our other thing. maybe the West isn't really that good.
Here's caveat to it. All right, we have this thing called the secondary transfer window coming up here in July.
Right.
Looking at some numbers that were released today, I think San Diego has like $4 million in allocation money laying around. If their biggest concern is defense, summer is not the worst time to go sign a defender.
Yeah, but none of them are going to be better than, Patty McNair and Christopher McVeigh play their system perfectly, the whole possession-based thing. They're good enough defensively, and they're good enough with their feet that it fits the system perfectly. I don't see how they're going to be able to upgrade within the system. It's just that I don't know if they're getting caught forward, if that thing of that within possession they're trying to overload, and they're getting caught forward, and then they're just able to very quickly pass through. I don't know. I would have to pull up charts to kind of look at average relative position of the defenders and stuff, and that was not something I did. But yes, that's kind of, again, I wonder if they're overperforming, because again, for the season, this was pre-Dallas game, but pre-Dallas game they had 17 expected goals and the opponents had 18.4. So they opponents were expected to have outscored them all year long, and they haven't. That's just not the way that the cookies crumbled for them. And so yes, that's what makes me wonder. But here's the thing, for Austin, that the 1 year, like there's some teams where it's just like, man, like it looks good, right? Like Orlando last year, like Orlando way outperformed their numbers. The year before that, I don't know if it was, maybe it was 2-3 years ago, but that when Owen Wolf like famously put up all the predictions, well, like on the look, they don't believe in us and blah blah blah. It's like, well, yeah, you look at their numbers and they outperformed their XG by like double digits. There are some teams like two years ago, it was St. Louis way outperformed all that in their inaugural season. Teams have that. Like there are just some seasons where everything's clicking for you, man. Like everyone's feeling it. It's good vibes. That little extra effort, like everything. I kind of wonder if maybe that's this year for San Diego.
I think there is one place. I'm looking at a few other stats, right? I think there's one place that I think they could very clearly upgrade, just one position, to make themselves significantly better. And it pains me to say it, Godoy.
That's not he's really good on the eye test at times.
He's good on the eye test.
Yeah.
But for the position he plays and where he is in the field, if your concern is we're giving up possession too high up the field, what's the player that you need to retain better possession? If you are the team that says, let's possess the ball more, meaning we need to dispossess sooner when other teams are in control.
That would be the job of Jesper Tverskov?
Tverskov is so Tverskov has good metrics on aerial duels. The only thing is the guy's a foul machine. Like
which isn't necessarily the best. Like there are times you need guys who know when to stop a counter. Like you absolutely need those. Okay, I'm gonna pull up here. I finally got it to load. It takes forever, but they have America Soccer now has things called goals added, and so it literally ranks everything that you do on the team. And so I'm gonna pull up who would be the guys who are like basically the worst players on San Diego at the moment.
It's just my gut tells me Valakari is probably another weak link, but I don't think that's.
Do you know who the worst one is at the moment? It's Jeppe Tverskov. He is killing the team in interrupting. Like you said, his fouls are not in a good way. Luca De La Torre, Jesper Loffelsen's a starter, right? Yeah, fullback, kind of off on.
Yeah, kind of.
He's been bad. Luca De La Torre has not been very good.
He's not been very good, but I don't think he's the biggest issue.
But Annabelle Godoy's actually a positive. Luca De La Torre's a negative, like by over a goal difference. Like it's like the clear standout players for them. Anders Dreyer has been incredible. Christopher McVeigh has been incredible.
Right. McNair's probably also been incredible.
Patty McNair actually he's been average or so. Yeah, but like Annabelle Godoy has been their 1, 2, 3, fifth best player. Same thing with Valakari. Yeah, and Annabelle Godoy's, a lot of his value comes in his passing. Like his passing is, his passing is second best on the team behind Anders Dreyer.
That I believe.
Yeah, so I think that's where you're getting a lot of that. So I mean, yeah, honestly, Jeppe Tverskov, like you upgraded defensive mid because, but again, it's his fouling. His passing's actually not terrible. He's solid. He's an average passer. So it definitely makes me wonder what all he's adding. I mean, his shooting's actually pretty good too, and his dribbling. So I don't know. There's
Told you, Tverskov's a foul machine.
He really is. You were not joking about that. I don't know
I
why
watched a little bit of
doubted
San
you.
Diego.
I was like, I don't know why I doubted you, man. When it comes to San Diego, you're the dude. But yeah, Annabelle Godoy's been one of
top
the
3 dude.
one of the best players. Yeah, a lot of their guys like Luca De La Torre's been kind of bad, but none are as bad as Jeppe Tverskov. He's the worst.
Yeah, look, I will agree with you that De La Torre certainly hasn't been a standout for them. I don't like.
He's on loan,
I think
though, right?
Yeah, like I think there's players you can definitely upgrade on. And
yes, he's definitely not a DP caliber guy, which is what he would be required to be there. He would require a DP caliber contract, being a U.S. national, but I don't think he is, which is fine. Not everyone is one of those, but
yeah. Well, okay. Anything else you want to talk about for San Diego before I move us? We got 3 more teams in the West to cover before we talk about the top half as a whole.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the team we're about to talk about next is the one I think that's probably going to fall the farthest.
Go on, tell me more about, and bonus points if you're sitting there at home and you are thinking to yourself, I know they must be talking about Portland, because that is who's next. Portland, who sits in 3rd, they're like mandatory watching right now, and it's not necessarily for good or bad reasons, but it's because I have no idea what is going to happen in any given Portland match. They're either going to score 4 goals or they're going to lose and give up 4 goals. And yet somehow because they're so consistent in being either incredibly dominating or fully dominated, they're sitting almost even on a goal differential, which is just incredible to me.
Yeah, it's funny. So before last week, they were tied with Vancouver and San Jose for the most goals scored at 20, which are they?
They sit at 21 right now.
Okay, perfect. When you look at their numbers, their offense is worse than it was last year. So yes, they're actually scoring a lot and stuff, but they're way outperforming. Way outperforming.
Oh, I can tell you that just from looking at the expected goals. I mean, it is incredible. Every single player is outperforming.
Their number one way of scoring is individual, like individual stuff. But tried and true ways of scoring are like your progressive passing, right? Like your through balls, getting it, like playing the ball forward and direct, and crosses. And those are they were towards the top of the league last year. They're towards the bottom now. And it's just right now they're scoring off of corner kicks and normal passes, and that's about it. And again, we saw with, who was that earlier? It was corner kicks and normal passes. It was Real Salt Lake. They are playing Real Salt Lake level soccer. Like in terms of their chance creation. The ball's just going in the back of the net for them. And when you look at what's gonna happen, again, things will regress to the mean. And their defense hasn't been good either. When you look at they are giving up insane amounts of how many goals for do they have?
21.
21. Yeah, they're
21 for, and I believe 19 against.
19 against. Okay, they're giving. I mean, their defense is leaky. They're definitely shows that they're giving up goals, and it's deserved. But their offense is extremely overperforming. I mean, we're talking extreme overperformance.
Let me throw a fun trivia. It's a fun fact formed as a trivia question.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay. The Portland Timbers have 3 players who have scored 4 or more goals
this year.
Yeah, this season.
Okay.
Now, how many of those 3 players do you think would have been expected to score 4 or more goals this season?
Probably not, because I know Anthony's up. Anthony's one of them, right?
Anthony is one, yep.
And honestly, I wasn't even sure he was a starter before the year start. Like I thought he was first guy off the bench kind of type. Santiago Moreno.
Moreno has 2 goals.
Okay, I was like, I thought he was at 2 or 3. Was it Ayala? No,
has 1 goal.
Wow. Okay, I need to know then.
It's Philippe Mora and Kevin Kelsey are the other 2 players with
Kelsey
4 or more
actually
goals.
has 4. I didn't think he had that many yet. Because
Kelsey has 4 goals.
Okay, Mora was the name I couldn't come up with, so that was the one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kelsey shocks me.
Well, I'm just gonna spoil the answer to the trivia question. The answer is 0. None of those players, by the stats, would be expected to have scored more than 3 goals.
Wow. Okay, so they are all way overperforming. Okay.
Yeah. So here's an even more fun thing, and I'm going to take this as 0 rounding. Okay, we're going just strictly off the expected goals. For every single goal scorer across every single player who has scored for Portland Timbers this season in regular competition, there are only 2 players who have scored fewer goals than would be expected of them. Every other player is overperforming their expected goals.
Are they midfielders?
Ayala, DaCosta.
So yeah, okay.
Yep. Every other player has scored more goals than what the XG says they would have scored.
Do you want to know something that's really crazy? Listening last season, Phil Neville did a interview with Andrew Wiebe on Extra Time before it was canned. And Phil Neville doesn't believe in like expected goals and stuff. He thinks it's stupid. He's not a stats guy. It's like either we win games or we don't. It doesn't matter what the stats say or this or that. We're either winning or we're not. And it kind of boggles the mind a little bit.
I get where he's coming from because, look, stats tell a story. It helps, describe what you're seeing. But if to say that stats, have no impact on it, oof. I think there's some data points that you could certainly be learning from there.
Absolutely, and he does not subscribe to statistics at all, which is hilarious in the 21st century. So yeah, I don't know. Portland, I think that it's going to come crashing down because. Do you know what's really funny? So again, there are 4 types of shots. You have great, good, average, and poor. The leading thing that Portland has given up more great shots than good and average combined. Like they've given up more great shots than either good, average, or poor. Like poor is no. Like they just straight up give up really, like they give up good, like 50-50 you should score chances, and that's just ridiculous.
Here, I'll throw another ridiculous stat your way. Kevin Kelsey has 4 goals. How many shots on target do you think Kevin Kelsey has this season?
I mean, honestly, 4 goals. You would expect a number like 12. But
I can tell you it's not 12.
No. What is it? Is it going to be 4?
5.
5. I was going to guess 5, but I was like, that's too ridiculous. Like, it can't be 5, right? But no, it is.
It is 5. Yeah.
Wow. That is shockingly bad. But you know what? It's working for him now. Again, you can't win it in the first part of the season. You can lose it. There's no way. It's literally not sustainable. Like all the numbers show, this is not sustainable, even remotely. But
here we are.
But here we are talking about them. I mean, kind of incredible, really. Like when you really think about like how well their offense has done and just done despite. Yeah, honestly, when you look at their goals added thing, their best player this year has been David Ayala, and then yeah, it's pretty bleak after that. And even David Ayala would be like 7th or 8th on San Diego.
That always so again. Well, if you look at say like the supporter shield, and we haven't even touched the East yet, right? But like when you look at the supporter shield, like so many teams that are in the West just fall so far below a whole bunch of teams in the East in the shield. And it's like it gives the same vibes where it's like you can grab like, a good player from one of these, West teams, and then you either like stack them up against an East team. And it's like even the players on the East will be like, oh yeah, they're great on this team, and then go East, it's like, oh, they're like they're in honorable mentions.
Yeah. And it's even crazier too, because so many guys are a great player. Like, for example, Anders Dreyer, absolutely like incredible, right? But would not be good on, say, like, maybe would not be near as good as like on an FC Dallas or DC United. I mean, probably good DC United, but I just mean, like so many guys are very system dependent too. Like,
absolutely.
Like Bawanga would not be
like San Diego.
Exactly. Yeah, like Bwanga's a great player, wouldn't be near as good as he is on San Diego.
Yeah. Well, let's move to Minnesota, an unexpected second place, if I'm being honest. If you told me at the start of the season that Minnesota was going to be sitting at second place a third of the way through the season, I would have told you, man, the West must be terrible this year, because I don't rate Minnesota at all.
I had Minnesota high. I think I had them third or fourth, so it doesn't completely shock me. No, I had San Jose second, so I do know that. So yeah, I just thought that they were going to be better. I honestly thought Bruce Arena was going to get. I figured they were going to score like this. I just thought Bruce Arena was going to get them defensively organized, but no, Minnesota has been like shockingly good. Like really, really, really good. They actually should be better. Kelvin Yeboah has really underperformed based off of what he should have more goals based on his XG. That's like full like headbanger nod, man.
Yeboah is like, look, you were super high on Yeboah, right? And like when I started the season out and I was, going through like various like sports betting, I'd be like, oh yeah, a Yeboah anytime goal scorer, surely.
Yeah.
And like the man he's not performed anywhere near what the numbers say he should.
But it's also too like on the year they've scored 7 less goals than their expected goals. Like as a team, they have really, really struggled. And honestly, they are where they are because Tony Oluwaseyi, love the dude, like massive Oluwaseyi fan, has carried the load for them. So I mean, if you think about the fact that they are where they are and they're massively underperforming, like where they should be, and again, everything will always even out, and so they're going to get better. They're going to be scoring more goals. The problem is that they're just not. They're not. They're going up against an all-time great level team. But I mean, you got to remember, Minnesota played Vancouver, and they actually matched the Vancouver's expected goals, and they actually had good chances. Now they gave up more good chances to Vancouver, right? But the fact that they even hung their own says a lot. So this Minnesota team's the real deal.
I will affirm your statement about them being the real deal, and I'm gonna give just a fun fact. A lot of fun facts in this episode.
I love fun facts. That's what should be called the Western Conference Fun Fact episode.
So, fun fact about Minnesota: they've given up 10 goals this year. 6 of them came from March and the first match in February.
Really?
So far, April, May, they have given up 4 goals. 3 of those were to Vancouver.
Wow.
And they have played 5 regular season matches.
They're good. And I mean, you always hate to see it, the Joseph Rosales accusation of, something racist, but, which is, again, just one of those things. He is insistent that he didn't say anything. The other guy's insistent that he did. And, you hate that that's kind of what colored the match. I hope it literally is just you hope it is a case of something either lost in translation or something was misunderstood or something. I don't know, but if he had been suspended for any amount of time, that would have been very bad because he's probably the best fullback in the league, or he's at least in contention for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some good fullbacks in this league, but at the same time, the number of good fullbacks in this league is not a long list either, which is
That's true. That's a
I
very,
think
very good point.
I think that's also what makes that's what makes certain teams so good. Like if you have good fullbacks, it's probably one of the shallowest, weakest positions league wide. And when you can get strong production from
Yeah,
players in those positions, like look at Philadelphia when they were getting incredible production from Kai Wagner, still
that's
get
true. Yeah.
incredible production from Wagner. And like they have so little investment in that team and so little salary. And like people look at them and it's like on paper, they should not be a team anywhere near any conference championship or trophy conversation. And yet they have, players who are super good in positions where everyone else is weak. And it gives them a dimension that you can't deal with, at least as far as most teams go. I mean, some teams can, right? But
no, it's been, and one of the things we haven't even talked about with Minnesota is that they added Julian Gressel. So
oh, it's
this means that now they can play him at wing back, and then they can Bongi can kind of sub in for Yaboa, Oluwaseyi, give them a rest, ride the hot hand. Now you can switch formations, or you move Gressel up, and then now you cannot play Will Trapp. I mean, Pereira's finally starting to hit. Could you imagine Gressel, Pereira, and Hassani Dotson as your midfield? I mean, look, I like Will Trapp, like he's a longtime MLS veteran guy, but just like a good, like he's a good average MLS player. But man, the jump up from Julian Gressel to Will Trapp, holy crap!
and this is why I picked Minnesota, that I think they'll finish second in the West,
I
even though you
for
still have
sure,
2/3 of the season.
for sure. I think that this is just about locked in, barring again some crazy injury crisis to Yaboa and uh Tani Oluwaseyi. Yeah, I think your West 1-2 are probably fixed here.
Yeah. And I think again, the takeaway here for me is when you look at Minnesota, the key is just going to be they have one, you like their goal scorers are both underperforming. Like the
Yes,
chances that they've created should be trending towards more goals. But they're giving up on average less than one goal a match if you stretch that across all 11 matches. If you're giving up one goal on average per match for the next 22 matches, just if you can score one goal, you're guaranteed a point. If you can score two goals, you basically said, that's probably a win
yeah,
for this team with this defense.
100%.
And yeah, I mean, that's you are going to finish second. You're going to sit on probably like 1.7, 1.8, 1.9 points per game if that's what you're doing.
100%. Like this is a really good, really, really good team. I'm a little concerned about them being able to break down a low block, but
But that's
I
every
think
team in this league.
right. I think
Who can do it?
Vancouver. That's who. No, but on it, but I think that Julian Gressel helps fix that. I really do.
Agreed.
For sure. For
All
sure.
right. Should we talk about Vancouver finally?
We should. We
The
should.
obvious best team in the West?
The obvious best team in MLS.
Oh, now that is a very, very spicy take because I mean, look, the East has some teams that are good who have also played each other. So I'm curious to hear why you say they are the full stop best team in MLS. I do have a stat that probably supports that I've said multiple times about the number of goal scorers they have, though.
So again, this is one that some of these how goals are scored, like levels of chance creation, how they're coming, and the levels at which they're coming they've only ever been seen by, again, the 2019 LAFC, which was an all-time great MLS team. And do you know what's really crazy? All this, Vancouver Whitecaps have only had one penalty kick this year, and it was missed. So they're not even relying on PKs, which the 2019 LAFC team got they got a heavy dose of that. Like I think they got 11 on the season, and a third of the way through the season, like Vancouver doesn't have a single PK goal, and they're matching incredible levels. What I thought was kind of interesting. So the best way to score goals and the most sustainable is progressive passes, right? Gone over that several times. One of the worst ways is basic passing, right? Just like, oh, I pass to the side, he shoots it. they are overperforming their basic passing by a pretty good margin, but they're underperforming their progressive passing. So they should be scoring more goals.
I can tell you why that is.
Oh, let's hear it.
It's because they have Daniel Rios as a player who they expect to score goals.
Yes, and weirdly he is, which is what's really weird. I did not have that on my bingo card. Was him getting meaningful minutes in CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah, he's getting meaningful minutes in general. I mean, he's played 400 minutes. And that's that's a third of the way through the season. Like, if you have someone who's getting, say, 1,000 to 1,500 minutes, that's someone who's playing a pretty decent role on your team.
Right.
And he's getting so many chances in the few minutes that he's getting. Because, I mean, again, you look at, like, your other type of players, and, like, you have guys like Veselinovic, Blackmon, Takaoka. Like, Takaoka has played every single minute you can ask for. He's sitting at just shy of 1,000 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So there's your cap, right? Is 1,000 minutes is the maximum. Rios is, sitting at 40% of possible minutes at that position. And, I mean, he is just, like, wildly, insanely underperforming what would be expected of him. Like, any other player in that spot probably is sitting on 4 or 5 goals.
No, I believe
he's sitting on 1, for the record.
Wow. No, this is a team that this is a thing that I like. I'm just going to read it from American Soccer Analysis. It says, we look at 2 things separately: shots and shot quality. Most good attacking teams establish one or the other. So you're either good at shots or you're good at shot quality, right? Really elite attacking teams are either outliers, like Miami was last year, or on one or the other, right? So they're good at one, and others they outperform, or they do both well, which again takes us back to Vancouver being like this 2019 LAFC team. They are actually they're really, really good at shots and shot quality, and they're both really high, like some of the best in the league at both of those, which is incredible. Again, right? Like most good teams, you're good at one or the other, and they're doing both, which is insane. Like, guys, if you are not watching Vancouver, start. Like, this is the kind of stuff that, like, you're going to be like, yeah, I remember seeing the 2025 Vancouver Whitecaps play. Man, that was something. Like, this is the kind of stuff that, like, your grandkids will ask you about, because what they're doing is nothing short of incredible. I mean, they've literally made history. Like, 3 times, only 3 times in MLS history has a team needed to go into Mexico in CONCACAF and get not won at home. They didn't win at home. They had to go to Mexico and get a win or a tie in order to go on. Only 3 teams have done it. 2 of those teams were Vancouver this year, in Monterrey and Tigres. In all of MLS history. Like, think about that. Like, this is an all-time great team. And this is just oh my gosh. And enjoy it while you can. Roma is sniffing around Pedro Vite. Other clubs, Roma is the latest team I've heard. I think other ones are too. They're kicking the tires on Vite. I would not be shocked if Sebastian Berhalter goes overseas, like championship or something. He's been incredible. I mean, that's the one thing that sucks about MLS, is that if you're good, it's like one of those, like, the car gets kind of sold off for pieces, right?
Yeah. Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you show or tell me Jaden Nelson's stats on goals added? Because he's
goals added
played a very limited role, but I think it's because he's coming back from injury. He's played a very limited role since returning, but he, on, like, the eye test, is just an incredibly fun player to watch.
So, best player this year, is it any shocker if it's Brian White?
Not a shock at all.
Do you know who the second best player is? I would not have guessed this. Eddie Ocampo.
I would not have guessed.
Eddie Ocampo is almost tied with Brian White. Like, we're talking like a 100th of a point of a difference. Pedro Vite is second. Jaden Nelson is 5th on the team. It is Brian White, Eddie Ocampo, Pedro Vite, then JC Ngondo, and Jaden Nelson.
Okay, so I will note that Jaden Nelson
would be up there. The problem with Sebastian Berhalter is that his fouling is pretty bad, and he's actually the worst on the team at fouling, and that gets him that takes away a lot of his value.
Jaden Nelson has like 200 fewer minutes than the next person in that listing.
Yes. Yes, he
Which I
does.
think it tells me that the eye test is right. He is
No, yes.
a joy to watch.
Like, and it's been, yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like a lot of, I mean, think about this, guys. They're doing this all without Ryan Gauld. Like, again, this is a league. Like, how many times have we gone through and we've been like, oh, Houston, like the Galaxy. Oh, guys, it's a DP driven league. LAFC, FC, like FC Dallas. Like, we're making all these excuses for these DPs in Austin not performing. They don't have their best DP, and they are setting records. Could you imagine what like what would they do if, like, I mean, imagine 2019 LAFC and then Carlos Vela goes down. I mean, that's what Ryan Gauld is to this team. They're not doing that, and they're setting the records. You could legitimately argue that this is the greatest team in MLS history. That what we're watching right now is the greatest. And I'm not going to sit here and say you're right. We could totally have a debate, but the fact that it's even a debate and that it's even close and that you actually have to consider it is incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. And again, I just want to point out, like, their goal differential is miles ahead of the next best team in the West, which sits at, it looks like, San Diego, sitting on a goal differential of +6. Vancouver's more than double that at +14.
Yeah, their defense is like Tristan Blackman has come up. Man, I love watching him take really long throws. That's like some of my favorite things to watch is Tristan Blackman come up and just throw it in the box. And I mean, like, they're getting Tate Johnson, their draft pick. What, I think, came out of North Carolina. Is that where it was this year? I think memory serves. They've gotten almost 700 minutes out of the kid. Like,
That's incredible for a draft pick.
Like, he's legit. He's like 8th or 9th on the team in minutes played. Like, and he's doing well. And see, this is what's always like, I really like goals added. I love the stat, but then there's some that it's like it doesn't capture a thing, because like Andres Cubas is last on the team, right? But like Andres Cubas is, if you look at him, like it's that he's not playing. None of his game is offensive based. He is 100% picking people up and stuff like that. So it's a great stat, and I love it. But especially with some of the defensive and center defensive mid stuff, it definitely has some problems in the metrics. But again, no. But again, for the most part, with attacking players and midfielders, stuff like that, it has a lot of value. And I mean, just these guys are, again, the best player on. Let me count here. The best player on Portland would be 11th on Vancouver. So like the best.
Conveniently, that's how many goal scorers Vancouver has.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, it has just been so much fun to watch, and it is. Yeah, I legit think, trying to think. I mean, I think right now they are the best team in the league. Like, I would take them over Columbus, which is kind of funny. You know, I know I doubt we'll be able to. Definitely not going to be able to get to the Eastern Conference today.
Oh,
we're
no,
already
no,
over
no,
2
Beau.
hours.
We're definitely hitting the Eastern Conference. This is going to be a 5-hour episode.
Oh boy, I didn't take enough caffeine for this.
Oh, you can go fix that. You can go fix it. We'll take a break. We can take a pause.
But like, I don't know. It's absolutely incredible to watch. Like, this Vancouver team is insane.
It really is. I mean, it makes it easy for me, right? I sit on the East Coast time zone, so I can watch whatever I want for my team at 7:30. And when Vancouver kicks off, it is a must-watch match in that time slot, and there's no conflict for me. I feel bad for people who have to pick and choose their team or Vancouver.
It's really unfortunate. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Like, legitimately, like, I struggle as well because I actually also watch a lot of San Diego. It's just there's been there's been some differences between when San Diego kicks off and when Vancouver matches have been kicking off. So I luckily have been able to catch a lot of both of those. And I mean, you can always watch a replay, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Vancouver is just you have to put it on TV.
It is. Yeah, it is. I don't know. It It's incredible because it really is just kind of goes to show where like FC Dallas is a bunch of dudes kind of thing, and Austin is a bunch of dudes, Colorado is a bunch of dudes, Vancouver's playing as a team. This is what the game is supposed to look like. Like this literally, like Vancouver is the beautiful game. Like this is exactly what it is. It is, yes, it is the most, watching Vancouver play is one of the highlights of my week.
I think, and it's not just, so it's interesting because I don't think it's just Vancouver. They're doing the best is playing at a team, but I think Minnesota, rightly sitting in second place, also playing quite well as a team. San Diego, their whole identity with like the right to dream thing, playing as a possession based team, they sit in fourth. Portland is definitely, like you said, it's a bunch of dudes. LAFC, when they can figure out how to get all 11 players on the same system, I would expect to play as a team.
Yeah, it is a bunch of dudes at the moment, though.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at like the top four, three of your top four teams are teams, true teams.
Yeah, no, and that's that. I think that's why I'm expecting Seattle to go higher than they are, is because they are finally like it took a while and stuff, but they're actually playing as a team now, which usually takes them a little bit longer than now. It usually takes them longer than this to really kick it in gear. It's usually around June, July, and they've got it in May. So, yeah, I think I'm higher on Seattle than a lot of people are, and rightfully so. Like I said, they definitely have a lot of asterisks that could go wrong, but
It's quite a few.
yes,
It's like, you're sitting there and like, it's like a Wikipedia article and you've got like the
yes,
the one in
2,
brackets,
3,
but
4,
then
5, 6,
also
7, 8,
yeah,
9.
and it's just like C footnotes and it's just like,
Yes,
ooh, that's a lot of them.
for sure.
So, and I think Seattle will rise. I don't see where they are and what some of the competition looks like. I think they're going to sit in fifth. I think that's where I'll see them at the end of the year.
Okay, so in my looking at this right now, in your opinion, who's the biggest mover based on right now and where they will end in the year? Like where they'll finish the season. Who do you think is going to be the biggest mover? And I don't necessarily mean point wise. I mean from where they are now to where they'll end up in the standings.
Ooh, I mean, that's a tricky question. I think I'm going to have to pick either Portland or San Jose. And
So
and I think both are going to go in the opposite direction for where they are. I think San Jose will go up a number of places. I think Portland will also drop. I think they'll be a playoff team, but I think they'll be like somewhere in like the 7-8 spot. And shifting from third to 7-8 by the end of the season is a pretty decent
big.
movement.
No, that is 100% what I was going to say, but I'm not going to use that. I'm going to go for. I'll play devil's advocate. I can see Austin dropping out of the playoffs completely. I can see them going from 6 to 10.
Yeah.
I also could see I could see St. Louis going from 13th to 8th. It wouldn't shock me. Again,
That honestly, out of all of them, that would shock me the most. Out of all four of those things,
I think that would be them probably making a coaching change. It would have to happen sooner rather than later. But if they did that, you tell me that St. Louis becomes a playoff team or a play-in game, and that Austin drops from 6th to 11th. I see this, but yes, I'm 100%. Like the first ones that came to my mind were Portland and then San Jose. I definitely, like you said, going the opposite way for sure. I don't know what to make. Colorado, in my mind, is the biggest wild card at the moment.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, Colorado or St. Louis has to be the biggest wild card, and just that, like, I don't. Okay, maybe St. Louis doesn't count because I don't think St. Louis can go further down, but I could see Colorado climbing up or climbing down.
I could see Colorado. I think their ceiling is sixth. I would see them realistically maybe seventh because I think you're right. I think Austin do drop. I think Colorado probably finish out the season sitting in seventh. I think that Austin potentially drop, to 9, 10. I think San Jose will, like, there is a world where they finish in like 6 area. I realistically, with how good some of these other teams are, like, again, I don't think they're getting anywhere near top 4. I think top 4 is well out of reach with the number of true teams that are playing. But like I could see them hitting like 7-8, maybe 6, best case scenario, right? I look at Austin, I'm just like I could see them getting squeezed down. Like I could see them finishing below Seattle. I could see them finishing below San Jose. I could see them finishing below Colorado. And it's like you've already knocked them down 3 places. Like it's not impossible for someone like say St. Louis, like you said, to do the coaching change and squeeze into ninth.
I think that the biggest potential for movement is probably I'm just doing quick math here. I don't see San Jose going past 6th, and 6th would be, I mean, but if you think about, like, they're only 3 points out of 6th at the moment, right? Like that's not unheard of.
Yeah, I think the middle is going to be where you see the most movement. I think
I honestly see the biggest
2 through
drop
5 is the shuffle.
Yeah, I think that Portland has the biggest potential, and it will be down because it's just they're overperforming everything so much, and so I think that for sure, though, we can almost say I think Galaxy, Dynamo, Kansas City, Salt Lake, just go ahead and start preparing the eulogy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Galaxy. I mean, we just need to pull the life support plug. Like, it's just
the
at
Galaxy
some point you're just like, why are we
pace
doing
for
this?
9 points.
I know, it's incredible.
I mean, so are Montreal, in fairness. But
right.
Again, we're looking at the West.
One of those things is not like the other. Like, but the West has got a lot of. There's a lot of teams that are mid. To use Gen Alpha speak, there's a lot of mid in this conference. So,
which means that there's a lot of teams that can shuffle.
The biggest,
like, to your point, like,
right.
Tons of teams could go, like, they could fluctuate like 5 places.
And
I don't like
just
going
East, top to bottom. Yeah. Just going like talked about, like Galaxy, like for the rest of the season. What I want to see Galaxy actually learn to play defense. The Dynamo, I want to see like what is like the next 10 games. What do they look like whenever these guys are coming back healthy? I mean, they're actually starting to create chances. Soccer is better now than was when it started, and that's not what we can say for like the Galaxy, right? St. Louis, dude, there's so many. Like, this is a dumpster fire at the moment. Kansas City,
fire the coach. That's what I want to see from them.
I do. Yes, 100%. Kansas City, I don't. Of all the teams, this is the team that, like, I want to hug my friend who's a Sporting Kansas City fan, even though he lives in Phoenix. Like, fly out and give him a hug, because I don't know what. There's no positivity, right? Because, like, at least St. Louis, like, hey, you see the pieces are there. Dynamo, well, guess what? They have Brooklyn Reigns and Jack McGlynn. Like, the pieces are there. LA Galaxy, we know what your ceiling was last year because you won the championship, right? I don't know what positivity you give to a Sporting Kansas City fan. Like, this is like guys, if you have a friend that's a Sporting Kansas City fan, check on them. They need your help. Real Salt Lake, you know what? You got in Willie Agata. I want to see Luna and Agata hook things up. I want to see what's his name? It's not Mark Zook. The big the big number 10 that they brought in last year who was supposed to do good. I want to see him actually show up. San Jose, that's just fun to watch. Like, they're all everything, like even these teams out of the playoffs, I have stuff. The biggest one, it's Sporting Kansas City. I feel bad for you. Like, I'm sorry, guys. You deserve better.
Well, I mean, look, they got Remis fired, so baby steps.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if Dallas could actually play a system, they may have a chance to actually go up to 6th. If Colorado can play defense, they could rise. Seattle is already on the rise. They just got to keep doing. Austin, they have to learn. I don't know. Yeah, Austin, you have to learn to literally not have a ball have a better chance of being scored before it's kicked than after. LAFC is another big one, man. It's just a bunch of dudes, and I don't know what system they're going to play. I genuinely don't. San Diego, though. San Diego, of all the ones, San Diego's the biggest one that I'm like, I want to see how it goes, because I feel like you're starting to finally see a few chinks in the armor and this and that because Dallas was a team without a system, they weren't able to adjust to play San Diego. And if they actually. But didn't you say that they play like Kansas City and St. Louis and
Their
Houston and
next month
Galaxy?
is so
Yeah.
easy.
Then you know
Yeah.
what? Then this honestly, we may see San Diego jump up the table, but it'll be a mirage. It'll be that like kind of false dawn kind of thing.
Yeah. I think I would say that the rest of May is going to be the easiest schedule that they could possibly ask for at any point in the season.
For sure. And then Portland, I just, man, buckle up because it's about to go downhill quick. And then Minnesota, Vancouver, man, just keep watching them. Gosh, Vancouver already has a 7-point lead over second place. That's incredible. Incredible.
That's
stuff,
the type
folks.
of lead you see at like match day 30.
Yes, for real. Any other notable thoughts you think of before we?
This is a question that I have for you.
Yeah.
Who is the bigger fraud right now? Portland or Austin?
Portland. I think that. See.
Oh, second guessing it.
I am, because I said it, but then I'm like, but Portland just got back Jonathan Rodriguez, who was a really good player. Like, Jonathan Rodriguez is not nothing. And so maybe I could see their attack maybe starting to switch and change and stuff. Austin, I'm gonna go Austin, because I don't see, they have guys who could finish. They don't have anyone who can create chances. It's all Owen Wolff, and Owen Wolff is not. I don't think he's a number 10. I really don't. I think he's a forward progressive number 8 kind of thing, but he's not a chance creator. I mean, literally, like, Owen Wolff reminds me a lot in some ways of Obed Vargas in their play style. And if you asked Obed Vargas to play the Pedro de la Vega or Albert Rusnak role, Seattle would not be very good. And that's what they're asking Owen Wolff to do. And it's just not it. So I think Austin is the biggest pretender because they don't have a way to create quality chances. Portland does, at least, because they have DaCosta. Now, they're horrible defensively, but at least they have a chance to outscore you. Austin just can't score. So yes. What about you? What do you think?
Austin was who I had in my mind. And look, here's my justification. Go to the East. You go to goal difference, right? And you go look for where you see the first negative goal difference. It's in 10th place, New York Red Bulls, -1.
Yeah. I mean,
to go find your first negative goal difference is 6th place, Austin, at -6.
Yep. And then 8th, and then 9th.
Yeah, and then 8th, but 6th place, maybe 9th place sits at a -6, and that's why they're a play-in game. But a guaranteed playoff spot in 6th place with that bad of a goal differential? No. I think it is a matter of time.
Who do you think's worse? Galaxy or Montreal?
LA Galaxy.
Okay, thought so.
LA Galaxy. Look, Montreal are not a good team. But Montreal, you look at the players and you say, okay, but I see why you're not a good team.
Right.
LA Galaxy, you look at and you're like, you should be a better team.
Yes, 100%. Agree. Okay, yeah, I'm 100% on that. Who do you think? Okay, rate these and how you think they finish. Houston, St. Louis, Real Salt Lake.
Why would you do this to me?
I know, this is a tough one.
So I'm rating where 11 through 14 would finish.
Yes, we're assuming Kansas City's just gonna drop anchor and sink. Well,
yeah, and I mean, I think I would probably put it at Kansas City at the bottom, Houston right above them, and then maybe I'd put St. Louis and then Salt Lake. And if they fire Olaf Melberg at any point within, say, the next 5 matches, I would swap St. Louis and Salt Lake on that.
Who so far has been the biggest disappointment? I mean, because I think you and I would both agree Vancouver's been the biggest surprise. Right, that's not.
But I mean, I think we would both agree it's LA Galaxy, right? I mean, you can't go MLS Cup champion to locked in wooden spoon winner.
But we knew that they were going to struggle without Ricky Pooch. Like I think if you told me that, now I saw them as probably a 8 to 9 seed. I thought St. Louis was going to be a for sure hosting playoff game based on what we saw last year after the summer transfer window and the way they were playing. I was like, this team is a lock for top 4, and they're sitting now in 13th.
When did Melberg get hired?
This is his first year he got hired over the offseason.
He got hired over the offseason, so that tells me we were making that assumption on having never seen Melberg coach an MLS team. Well, but now, granted, I think the warning signs were there for his other teams.
But you look at, like, there's no way that you would think a coach comes in, looks how they're playing, is going, nah, this sucks. Like they were a top 4 team in the West. But I don't know.
But you also wouldn't think team that goes and retains most of their players who started an MLS Cup would be sitting on 0 wins through 11 matches and potentially making history next week to go 12 matches winless to start a season.
Yeah, I still think St. Louis is the bigger sport for me personally. But I think that the Galaxy is shocking, I will say. Like, it's because of just the fact that they literally don't have a single win. That's the part that's like, and you look at, like, they lost to LA. They lost to the Kansas City, having not given up a single shot on goal. Like, there's not a single shot on goal, and they lost. Like, it's
no one's ever done it.
Yeah,
not just a single shot on goal, Beau. 0 shots.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. So, but at some point, though, you're just like, okay, clearly the soccer gods have, like, you used all your luck last year. The soccer gods have spoken.
Yeah. You know what? It's the hypothetical scenario, right? If you go to someone and say, hey, you're going to win MLS Cup, you're going to be terrible for
like,
3 years afterwards.
Deal, man. I'll take it.
Yeah, most people are taking that. Maybe not everyone. Most people are taking that.
100%. But them's the breaks.
Them's the breaks. All right. Well, Beau, I did say we were going to do a 5-hour episode. I'm going to immediately be made into a liar on this very minute. Now, granted, we're sitting at like 2.5 hours right now.
Yeah,
by the
which
time
is
we
kind of crazy.
Get around to recording the East, we'll probably average 5 hours, if you add them together. And so we will get to the eventual 5-hour episode when we do the East, but at least for now, we'll put a pin in it. We just spent more time talking about probably multiple teams at the bottom of the table that maybe deserve less time than we spent on them, and we probably spent less time talking about teams that were more deserving. But either way, it was excellent to get your insight on the West. It was fun to talk stats. It's fun to talk about who's a pretender, who's the real deal.
Yes, it was a good episode.
Yeah, and we'll do this again for the East. Not today, though.
Yes.
But in the meantime, so just a reminder, if you want to find Beau on social media, he's on Blue Sky at MLS Gamut. You can find me, of course, whatever, right? At Mr. Danger Russ social media. More importantly, the cast on social media. We're everywhere that you could possibly interact with something on social media, as long as it's one of the places that we're on, which is a major social media site and not the smaller niche sites like Mastodon, at MLS Now Podcast. And, it obviously... We'll cover the East, so if you're an Eastern listener, please don't get mad at us and be like, hey, I came here to listen to the East, and you spent 2.5 hours talking about the West. Why did I listen to this? And now you're smarter about the West, so there you go. You're welcome.
Yes, the people at the water cooler will thank you when you start
absolutely will.
dropping Austin FC post-shot expected goal facts.
Incredible. Out of all the things we've said today, still my favorite fun fact.
Same. I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah. Well, and I hope our listeners enjoyed the entire episode as much as we did. But with that said, we must unfortunately, on a very sad note, pull it to an end. So listeners, Beau, everyone who made it this far listening to the West, thank you very much. As always, we appreciate every single one of you for continuing to listen. And with that said, till next time.
Au revoir.